In this video, we're going to be breaking down 2 hours of every One Piece god theory. Let's get started with the video. First up, we got Sun God, Nika, the legendary warrior of liberation. The lost legend written out of history. The name Nika holds a weight in the One Piece world that reaches back centuries, maybe even thousands of years. This figure stands at the center of one of the most carefully guarded secrets the world government has ever kept. Nika was a mythical warrior who ancient slaves worshipped as the sun god, believing he would one day arrive to free them from their suffering and bring smiles back to their faces. His existence appears only in the oldest of texts, having been systematically erased from every modern document by the world government. The legend speaks of a warrior who fought with a rubber-like body, wielded both a spear and sword, and carried with him the sound of drums that brought liberation wherever he went. The story of Nika first came to light through Who's Who, a former member of the world government's CP9 organization, during his imprisonment in Impel Down after losing the devil fruit that carried Nika's power. Who learned about this legendary figure from a prison guard who mysteriously vanished shortly after sharing the tale. The guard described Nika as the warrior of liberation, a figure who freed slaves from their chains and brought joy to the oppressed. This wasn't just an old story meant to comfort prisoners. The legend carried real weight, passed down through generations of the nearly extinct buccaneer race, and preserved in the oral traditions of the giants of Elbaf. Ancient texts, and Dr. Vegapunk's confirmation. Dr. Vegapunk, the smartest scientist in the One Piece world, confirmed that Nika's existence is documented in the most ancient texts available. These records describe a warrior whose very presence challenged the foundations of oppression. According to these ancient writings, Nika possessed a body with the properties of rubber itself, allowing him to fight in any manner he could imagine. The awakened form of the devil fruit that carries his power. The silhouetted descriptions show a lanky figure with flame-shaped hair, wearing something on his thighs, carrying weapons of liberation in his hands. The physical description of Nika varies slightly depending on which culture preserved his memory. In the depictions from Elbaf, Nika appears wearing a kilt-like garment with a sash tied around his waist, and a scarf made of clouds floating around his neck. He carries a sword and shield in these representations. The common thread across all descriptions remains his distinctive flame-shaped hair, his all-white appearance, and the unmistakable smile that never left his face. This smile became his signature trait, representing the joy and freedom he brought to everyone he encountered. The giants of Elbaf hold particularly detailed knowledge about Nika through their ancient scripture known as the Harley. This text, written in an old language that few can still translate, reveals that the world of One Piece has been destroyed twice before. Both times, Nika was present during these catastrophic events. The Harley describes how flames engulfed the ancient world, how humans grew greedy and touched the sun itself, gaining power and wealth. This advancement came at a terrible cost, as slavery was instituted to source the raw materials needed for this newfound power. The enslaved people, facing hopeless suffering, turned their prayers toward a divine entity for salvation. From these desperate prayers, the sun god Nika appeared. The Harley suggests that Nika arrived not from the world itself, but possibly from above, perhaps even from the moon. Ancient murals from the Void Century show a figure inside a flying ship similar to Ark Maxim, Enel's vessel that was designed to reach Fairy Verth, which is another name for the moon. This connection hints that Nika may have descended from the lunar surface to answer the cries of the oppressed. The giants of Elbaf themselves remain uncertain whether Nika was a savior or a destroyer. The ancient nature of their texts and the two destructions that occurred while Nika was present left them divided in interpretation. Some giants view him as the harbinger of change, who brings about the end of corrupt worlds, while others revere him purely as a liberator who fights against oppression. This ambiguity has led to different traditions among the giants, with some claiming the title of Sun God for themselves. The giant named Road presided over his diorama with the title of Sun God, while Loki, known as the Accursed Prince, declared himself the future sun god when he led a rebellion against his own father, the Buccaneer race and the keepers of Nika's memory. Among all the cultures and races in the One Piece world, the Buccaneer race held the strongest connection to Nika's legend. This nearly extinct race, consisting of people with giant blood running through their veins, passed down the story of Nika through their families for countless generations. The Buccaneers viewed Nika as a divine figure who would eventually bring joy and freedom to the world. This belief wasn't just spiritual hope, but formed the core of their cultural identity. Bartholomew Kuma, the last known survivor of the Buccaneer race, learned about Nika from his father, Clap. During their enslavement by the world nobles, Clap would tell young Kuma stories about the warrior of liberation. He described Nika as someone who would one day take suffering people out to sea where they could finally be free. The legend included specific details about Nika's appearance and abilities, including the distinctive rhythm known as the Drums of Liberation. Clap would sing this rhythm for Kuma, going boom, 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 mimicking the sound of Nika's heartbeat that brought laughter and freedom wherever it was heard. The Buccaneer tradition preserved more than just stories. They maintained a dance that mimicked Nika's movements, a physical memory of the sun god's presence. Kuma himself performed this dance with his friends and family, keeping the tradition alive even as his race faced systematic extermination. The dance became more than just a cultural practice, it represented hope itself. When Kuma later shared the legend with his adopted daughter, Bonnie, he passed on both the story and the dream that someone like Nika would appear again to liberate the oppressed. The world government's fear and systematic erasure. The world government's approach to Nika's memory reveals the depth of their fear. They didn't just hide information about him, they systematically erased his name from every document they could control. They renamed the devil fruit that carried his power from Hito Hito no Mi, model Nika, to Gomu Gomu no Mi, making it seem like a simple paramecia-type fruit instead of the mythical Zoan it truly was. They hunted this fruit for over 800 years. The Five Elders, who publicly control the world government, and Imu, the secret ruler who sits on the empty throne, recognized Nika as a direct threat to everything their regime represented. In their eyes, Nika embodied the opposite of their carefully constructed world order. Where they built systems of control and hierarchy, Nika represented absolute freedom. Where they enslaved and oppressed, Nika brought liberation. The very concept of someone fighting with joy and spreading smiles to the suffering stood in complete opposition to the fear-based control the world government maintained. This fear extended to anyone connected to Nika's legend. The Buccaneer race faced persecution, specifically because they kept the story alive. According to J. Garcia Saturn, one of the Five Elders, the exact nature of this crime remains somewhat unclear, but evidence suggests their greatest offense was being allies of Joy Boy during the Void Century and refusing to let Nika's memory die. The world government hunted them nearly to extinction, enslaving any they found and eventually killing them. Saturn explicitly stated that Buccaneers were born to be slaves, revealing the government's cruel justification for their genocide. The persecution of the Buccaneers served multiple purposes for the world government. First, it eliminated a significant source of knowledge about Nika and Joy Boy. Second, it sent a message to any other groups who might oppose their authority. Third, it attempted to prevent the reemergence of the Hito Hito no Mi, model Nika, since the Buccaneers' collective desire and prayers for the sun god could potentially manifest the devil fruit back into existence. By destroying the race that believed in Nika most strongly, the government hoped to make the legend itself fade into nothing. The powers and abilities of the sun god. The legends describe Nika as possessing extraordinary abilities that went beyond normal combat capabilities. His body had the properties of rubber from head to toe, giving him flexibility and resilience that allowed him to fight in any manner he could imagine. This wasn't just about stretching limbs or bouncing attacks back. The rubber body represented the ultimate freedom of movement and combat style. there were no limits except imagination itself. Nika could stretch, compress, inflate, twist, and manipulate his body in ways that defied normal physics. The weapons Nika carried also played important roles in the legends. Ancient depictions show him wielding a spear in one hand and a short blade in the other. Some versions show him with a sword and shield instead. These weapons weren't just for fighting but symbolized his role as a warrior who protected the weak and challenged oppressors. The variety in weapon depictions across different cultures suggests Nika adapted his fighting style to whatever situation he faced, another demonstration of his absolute freedom in combat. The most distinctive feature of Nika's power came from the rhythm his heart produced, known as the drums of liberation. This wasn't a metaphorical sound but an actual rhythmic beating that could be heard when Nika was present or when someone tapped into his power. The drums carried a specific pattern that brought joy to everyone who heard it. Even enemies found themselves affected by this rhythm, feeling lighter and more cheerful despite being in battle. The sound represented more than just a heartbeat. It signified the arrival of change, the breaking of chains, and the promise of freedom. Nika's personality and the power of joy. What truly set Nika apart from other powerful figures in ancient history was his approach to combat and liberation. He didn't fight with anger or hatred. Instead, Nika battled with immense joy and laughter. This wasn't a weakness, but perhaps his greatest strength. The legends emphasize that Nika always wore a smile, always laughed, and always spread happiness wherever he went. This created an atmosphere of freedom and possibility around him that inspired others and made even the darkest situations feel manageable. The concept of fighting with joy rather than rage represented a fundamental challenge to how power typically operated in the world. Most conquerors and warriors relied on fear and brutality to achieve their goals. Nika showed an alternative path where liberation came through inspiration rather than domination. He didn't just defeat oppressors, he changed the very atmosphere of the places he visited, leaving behind communities that remembered how to smile and laugh even after he was gone. This joyful approach had another important effect. It prevented Nika from becoming the same type of oppressor he fought against. The legends suggest that Nika's kind demeanor prevented him from striking down adversaries, even when he had the power to do so easily. He fought to liberate, not to dominate. This distinction mattered greatly to the slaves and oppressed people who prayed to him. They didn't want a new master who would replace their old one. They wanted someone who would break their chains and let them be free to determine their own paths. The connection between solar deities and freedom. The title Sun God wasn't chosen randomly. Throughout human cultures, both in the One Piece world and in real history, solar deities have represented power, strength, prosperity, and life itself. The sun provides light that reveals truth and dispels darkness. It provides warmth that sustains life. It rises every day without fail, representing reliability and hope. These associations made the sun a natural symbol for someone who brought liberation and joy to the suffering. Nika's name itself carries significance beyond its association with the Sunday. The word Nika resembles Nike, the Greek goddess of victory, suggesting that Nika represented triumph over oppression. The name can also mean to win or to conquer in various contexts. Some scholars have connected it to the Christian symbol ICXC, Nika, meaning Jesus Christ conquers, drawing parallels to the redemptive and liberating aspects of both figures. The multi-layered meanings within Nika's name reflect the complex role he played in ancient times. The connection to the sun also explains certain details about Nika's abilities and appearance. The flame-shaped hair evokes solar imagery directly. The clouds that float around his neck in various depictions suggest a figure who dwells in the sky, close to the sun itself. The all-white appearance reflects light and purity. Even the smile that defines Nika's character resembles the sun's round shape and the warmth it provides. Every aspect of his design reinforces the solar deity concept while emphasizing the joy and freedom he represented. Cultural variations and the spread of Nika's legend. Different cultures across the One Piece world preserved the legend of Nika in their own ways, each adding unique elements while maintaining core aspects of the story. The Shandia tribe, residents of Skypiea before it rose into the sky, worshipped an ancient serpent called Kashigami, who bore the title God of the Sunday. While not directly identified as Nika, the connection to solar worship suggests these traditions may have branched from the same ancient source. The Shandia's prayers and rituals around sun-related deities indicated a cultural memory of divine figures associated with light and liberation. The giants of Elbaf developed the most elaborate traditions around Nika. They hold a dedicated celebration for the death and rebirth of the sun, called the Winter Solstice Festival. This festival demonstrates their understanding of cycles, endings, and new beginnings, concepts closely tied to Nika's role in the destruction and renewal of worlds. The giants created multiple artistic representations of Nika through murals and sculptures, preserving visual records when written documents disappeared. Their interpretation of Nika as both potential destroyer and savior reflects a more nuanced understanding of how radical change affects societies. The Fishman race also appears to have connections to Nika's legend, though these links are less direct than those of the Buccaneers or Giants. Fisher Tiger, a former slave who stormed Mary Geoise and freed countless slaves, formed the Sun Pirates after his escape. The crew's symbol, the Mark of the Sun, represented hope and freedom for all fishmen and former slaves who bore the brand of the Celestial Dragons. While no concrete connection between Tiger and Nika has been confirmed, the parallel between Tiger's actions and Nika's legendary role as a slave liberator seems too significant to be mere coincidence. The fact that Who's Who made racist remarks toward fishmen while discussing Nika suggests he believed they possessed special knowledge about the sun god. The birth of Nika in the First World. Recent revelations from the Elbaf Arc have shed light on when Nika first appeared in history. According to discoveries made by the Straw Hat crew members exploring ancient facilities within the Atom Tree, the original sun god Nika existed approximately 3,000 years ago during what is called the First World. This timeline pushes Nika's origins much further back than previously believed, predating even the Void Century by more than 2,000 years. The First World was a highly advanced civilization that discovered the Mother Flame, an incredible energy source. Humanity grew greedy with this power, touching what was metaphorically described as the Forbidden Sunday. This advancement led to the creation of an oppressive society built on slavery, as massive amounts of manpower were needed to mine and process materials for maintaining this energy source. The suffering slaves prayed for salvation in their darkest moments, and from these prayers, the sun god Nika appeared. The circumstances of Nika's appearance remain somewhat mysterious. The ancient murals suggest he didn't simply emerge from within the First World society but came from elsewhere, possibly descending from the moon in a flying vessel. This origin would explain why later cultures associated Nika with the sky and heavens. It would also connect to the confirmed presence of ancient civilizations on the moon, as revealed through NL's cover story adventures. The idea that Nika came from beyond the world itself to help the suffering adds another layer to his role as a liberator from outside the existing power structures. The devil fruit that carries Nika's power. The Hito Hito no Mi model Nika exists as physical proof that Nika was more than just a myth. This mythical Zoan-type devil fruit allows whoever consumes it to gain Nika's traits and abilities. The fruit grants the user a permanently rubber-like body even before awakening, but its true power remains dormant until certain conditions are met. Upon awakening, the user undergoes a dramatic transformation. Their hair and clothes turn white, their eyes glow red with distinctive ring-like pupils, and white clouds begin floating around their neck. Most importantly, their heartbeat changes to match the drums of liberation. The awakened form provides more than just enhanced physical abilities. It grants what Luffy described as complete freedom in combat. The user can fight in any way they imagine, limited only by their own creativity. They can extend their rubber properties to their surroundings, making other people and even objects temporarily elastic. They can manipulate reality in ways that seem almost cartoonish, applying what appears to be cartoon logic to serious battles. This ridiculous freedom represents the ultimate expression of Nika's liberating nature, not just freeing people from physical chains, but freeing combat itself from conventional limitations. The awakening also affects the user's personality in noticeable ways. They become more joyous and carefree during battles, laughing more frequently and feeling lighter despite the serious circumstances. This shift isn't just superficial. The joy becomes contagious, affecting even hardened enemies and making them experience moments of fun during fights. The awakened user exudes what can only be described as liberating energy that spreads to everyone around them. This transformation explains why the world government feared this fruit so desperately. It doesn't just create a powerful fighter, but a force that fundamentally challenges their fear-based system of control. Why the world government renamed the fruit. Understanding the government's decision to rename the Hito Hito no Mi model, Nika to Gomu Gomu no Mi, reveals their strategic approach to controlling dangerous knowledge. By making the fruit appear to be a simple paramecia type that just granted rubber powers, they stripped away all associations with Nika and the legacy he represented. Even members of the Four Emperors' crews, some of the most informed groups in the world, had no idea about the fruit's true nature because the renaming was so effective. The government's attempts to capture this fruit for over 800 years demonstrate how seriously they took the threat. They assigned CP9 agents to guard it during transport, showing it received high-level security, typically reserved for world-changing secrets. When Who's Who lost the fruit after being attacked by the red-haired pirates, his imprisonment and the subsequent disappearance of anyone who knew about Nika's legend from him showed how far the government would go to contain even knowledge of the fruit's existence. The Five Elders' reaction, when they learned Luffy had awakened the fruit, confirmed their worst fears had come true. They were willing to risk angering Kaido, one of the Four Emperors, by attempting to kill Luffy during his battle on Onigashima. This represented a massive gamble for the world government, but they considered Luffy surviving and potentially awakening Nika's power to be an even worse outcome. Their assessment proved correct, as Luffy's awakening marked a turning point in the world's trajectory toward change, the legacy that cannot be erased. Despite the world government's centuries-long campaign to erase Nika from history, the legend survived through the determination of oppressed peoples who needed something to believe in. The Buccaneers kept the story alive through generations of brutal persecution. The giants preserved it in their ancient texts and festivals. Even individual slaves in Mary Geoise continued whispering prayers to Nika, hoping he would one day come to free them. This persistent memory across multiple cultures and races proved that some ideas are simply too powerful to destroy completely. The survival of Nika's legend speaks to a fundamental truth about hope and resistance. Oppressive regimes can burn books, rewrite histories, and silence voices, but they cannot eliminate the human desire for freedom. As long as suffering exists, people will create and maintain stories about liberators who might one day end that suffering. Nika became more than just a historical figure or a mythical god. He became a symbol of the possibility that things could be different, that oppression wasn't the natural order, that joy and freedom were worth fighting for. This is why Bartholomew Kuma, even after everything he suffered, chose to model himself after Nika. It's why he told Bonnie about the sun god, even though revealing their buccaneer heritage put them in danger. It's why he danced the rhythm of liberation with his friends and family, despite being enslaved. The legend of Nika represented something the world government could never truly defeat, the hope that liberation was possible, that someone would come who fought with joy rather than rage, who brought smiles rather than fear, who freed rather than conquered. That hope passed down through generations of the oppressed, ensured that when the time came, the sun god would rise again. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have Joy Boy versus sun god Nika, two different entities. Joy Boy versus sun god Nika, two different entities. For years, One Piece fans debated a question that seemed impossible to answer. Were Joy Boy and sun god Nika the same person? The confusion made perfect sense. Both figures connected to liberation. Both brought joy and laughter. Both had stretchy, rubbery bodies. When Luffy awakened his powers during the battle against Kaido, the giant elephant Zunisha declared that Joy Boy had returned after hearing the drums of liberation. The overlap created natural confusion among readers who wondered if Joy Boy was simply another name for Nika, or if Nika was a title that Joy Boy earned through his actions. Then came chapter 1114. During his recorded broadcast to the entire world, Dr. Vegapunk revealed information that changed everything fans thought they knew. While discussing the Void Century and the ancient history of the world, Vegapunk explained that 900 years ago, in an incredibly advanced kingdom, someone was born with a body that could stretch and move like rubber. This person had powers resembling the sun god Nika from the tales of Elbaf. That person was named Joy Boy, and he became the very first pirate in One Piece history. The wording was deliberate and specific. Vegapunk said Joy Boy had abilities like the sun god Nika of Elbaf. Not that Joy Boy was Nika. Not that Joy Boy became Nika after death. Not that the two names referred to the same being. The phrasing clearly established them as separate entities. Nika existed first as a myth, as a story, as a legend passed down through generations of oppressed people. Joy Boy came later as a real person who ate a devil fruit based on that ancient legend. This revelation recontextualized everything fans knew about both figures. To understand why this matters, you need to understand where each figure came from and what they represented. Nika appeared in the oldest texts known to the One Piece world. The legend spoke of a warrior who would bring liberation to slaves, who fought with a rubbery body that could bend and stretch in impossible ways, who spread joy and laughter wherever he went. The giants of Elbaf preserved stories about Nika in their culture and held festivals celebrating the sun god. The nearly extinct buccaneer race, which included Bartholomew Kuma and his daughter Bonnie, passed down knowledge about Nika through generations. Despite the danger this knowledge posed, Who's Who, a former member of CP9, first mentioned Nika explicitly during the Wano arc. He learned about the legend from a prison guard while imprisoned by the world government. The guard told him about a mythical warrior called the Sun God who was a friend to slaves, who would one day come to free them from their oppressive masters and bring smiles to their faces. When Who's Who noticed that the same prison guard suddenly vanished, he suspected the world government had silenced the guard for sharing information they wanted buried. This fear led Who's Who to escape from prison to avoid a worse punishment for knowing too much about Nika. Dr. Vegapunk later confirmed that Nika's existence is recorded only in the most ancient texts. Modern documents have erased any mention of him. The world government worked hard to erase this legend from history, but they failed completely. You cannot kill an idea. You cannot destroy hope. Slaves continued to pray to Nika, even when imprisoned in Mary Geoise, the holy land of the world government itself. The legend survived because oppressed people needed something to believe in, something that promised their suffering would not last forever. The Elbaf arc revealed even more about Nika's origins. An ancient religious text called the Harley contains information about 3 different eras of the One Piece world. According to this text, the world has been destroyed twice before, and Nika was present during both destructions. The giants who study the Harley are uncertain whether Nika was a savior or a destroyer in these ancient times, but they consider him an important figure regardless. The Harley also reveals that Nika existed in what the giants call the First World, a time period long before the Void Century ever began. During the First World, flames engulfed the land, as humans succumbed to their desires and touched the forbidden Sunday. Enslaved people prayed for salvation, and the sun god appeared. This suggests Nika may have originated from the prayers and desperate wishes of slaves who needed a hero. The desires and hopes of oppressed people somehow manifested into the legend of a liberating warrior who would free them from suffering. Devil fruits themselves connect directly to this concept of desire. Vegapunk explained his theory about devil fruits during the Egghead arc. According to him, devil fruits are manifestations of human evolution that someone desired. Every devil fruit represents a possibility for humanity's future, brought into existence by hope and wishes. People who eat devil fruits exist in different dimensions dreamed up by others before them. The sea, which Vegapunk calls the mother of nature, rejects devil fruit users because their existence goes against natural evolution. This theory explains how the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, the widespread prayers of enslaved people for a liberator, created enough collective desire to manifest a devil fruit based on the legend of Nika. The fruit granted powers matching what the legends described: a rubbery body that could fight in any way imaginable, the ability to bring joy and laughter to others, the power to inspire freedom and break the chains of oppression. The fruit became a physical manifestation of the myth. Joy Boy discovered this fruit during the Void Century, 900 years before the current timeline. He was born in the Ancient Kingdom, an incredibly advanced civilization that possessed technology even Vegapunk cannot fully understand. The Ancient Kingdom had achievements in science and culture that were centuries ahead of their time. Joy Boy grew up in this kingdom during its golden age. At some point, Joy Boy ate the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. The fruit gave him powers matching the ancient legends of the sun god. His body became rubbery and elastic. He could stretch and bend in ways that defied normal physics. He gained the ability to bring smiles to people's faces, even in the darkest circumstances. He embodied the freedom and joy that the legend of Nika promised to deliver. Joy Boy became the first person to be called a pirate. He was the first man to set out to sea with a crew, living by his own rules rather than following the laws of kingdoms and governments. This act of defiance marked the beginning of piracy in the One Piece world. Joy Boy challenged the alliance of 20 kingdoms that would eventually become the world government. He fought for the freedom and liberation that his devil fruit represented. The distinction between Nika the legend and Joy Boy the person matters for several important reasons. First, it establishes that Nika existed as a concept before anyone actually had his powers. The myth came first. The reality followed. Slaves prayed to Nika long before Joy Boy was born. The giants celebrated Nika in their culture before anyone ate the devil fruit based on him. This means Nika represents something larger than any single person. He represents hope itself. Second, it explains why different groups knew different pieces of the story. The Elbaf giants preserved the original mythology about Nika as a god figure. The Buccaneer race kept specific knowledge about Nika's rubbery body and fighting abilities. The world government knew about Joy Boy as a historical enemy they defeated during the Void Century. Each group held fragments of truth, but none had the complete picture, showing how myth and reality connected. Third, it clarifies Luffy's relationship to both figures. Luffy ate the same devil fruit that Joy Boy once ate. When he awakened the fruit's true power in Gear 5, he took on the appearance described in ancient texts about Nika: the white hair and clothing, the flame-shaped eyebrows, the overwhelming freedom of movement. Luffy embodies both Joy Boy's inherited will and Nika's legendary promise. The world government recognized this danger. They hunted the Nika fruit for 800 years after Joy Boy's death. They renamed it the Gomu Gomu no Mi to hide its true nature. They classified it as a paramecia-type fruit even though it was actually a mythical Zoan. The Five Elders, the highest authority in the world government below the mysterious figure Imu, feared this fruit more than any other. One elder stated that the fruit had a will of its own and had continuously eluded them for centuries. They came close to obtaining it several times but always failed at the last moment. Who's Who was transporting the Gomu Gomu no Mi to the world government when Shanks and his crew stole it. This theft likely saved Luffy's future. If the world government had obtained the fruit, they would have locked it away forever or found a way to destroy it. Instead, Shanks kept the fruit safe until young Luffy ate it by accident, setting in motion the events that would lead to Gear 5 and the return of Joy Boy's will. Zunisha's declaration that Joy Boy had returned shows how closely the two identities connect in people's minds. The ancient elephant lived during the Void Century and traveled with Joy Boy as his companion. When Zunisha heard the drums of liberation coming from Luffy's awakened heartbeat, the elephant immediately recognized those sounds. For 800 years, Zunisha walked the seas as punishment for an ancient crime, waiting for Joy Boy to return. The sound of Gear 5's heartbeat triggered that recognition, but Zunisha recognized Joy Boy, not Nika. The elephant knew Joy Boy as a person, as a companion, as someone specific from history. Nika existed as a legend even back then. Joy Boy was the real individual who wielded Nika's power. This distinction is subtle but important. It shows that even during the Void Century, people understood the difference between the mythical sun god and the actual pirate who fought with his powers. The ancient kingdom where Joy Boy lived held secrets the world government wanted buried forever. 20 kingdoms formed an alliance to destroy this advanced civilization. The reasons for this war remain unclear, but the results shaped the entire world. The alliance won, the ancient kingdom fell, the 20 kingdoms became the world government. They rewrote history to erase the truth about what happened. Joy Boy fought against this alliance. He used the power of the Nika fruit to challenge the forces that would become the world's rulers. He fought for freedom and liberation, living up to both the legend that inspired his power and his own will to change the world. Despite his strength and his incredible devil fruit, Joy Boy ultimately failed. The alliance defeated him. The ancient kingdom was destroyed. Joy Boy died, and with him died the first embodiment of Nika's power in a real person. But Joy Boy knew his mission would continue beyond his death. He left behind messages on poneglyphs, the indestructible stone tablets that preserved the true history. On Fishman Island, Joy Boy left an apology to the mermaid princess, the ancient weapon Poseidon. He had made a promise to bring the fishmen and merfolk to the surface, to live alongside everyone else. The massive ship Noah was built for this purpose, but Joy Boy died before fulfilling this promise. His apology expressed regret, but also hope that someone would come in the future to finish what he started. Roger and his crew found Joy Boy's treasure on the final island, Laugh Tale. When they discovered it, they laughed at the incredible joke they found. Roger declared he wished he had lived in the same era as Joy Boy. The treasure revealed the true history of the world and whatever Joy Boy left behind as his legacy. Roger understood that the time for Joy Boy's will to be inherited had not yet come. The world was not ready. Someone else would need to find the One Piece in the future and complete Joy Boy's mission. The difference between Nika and Joy Boy also explains why multiple people can embody aspects of Nika, while only one person carries Joy Boy's specific will. The Elbaf arc introduced Loki, a giant prince who claims to be the sun god. He ate a legendary devil fruit, passed down through Elbaf's royal family, a fruit so powerful he murdered his father to obtain it. Whether Loki truly has powers connected to Nika remains unclear, but his claim shows how the legend of the sun god exists separately from Joy Boy's specific identity. Jewelry Bonnie, using her age manipulation devil fruit, temporarily transformed into a version of Nika during the Egghead arc. Her transformation came from her belief in the legend her father Kuma told her about. She manifested the appearance of the sun god based on her understanding of the myth. This shows that Nika, as a concept, can inspire multiple interpretations and manifestations, while Joy Boy represents a specific person with a specific will. Luffy stands as the clearest successor to both figures. He ate Joy Boy's devil fruit. He awakened its power just as Joy Boy did centuries ago. He looks like Nika when transformed into Gear 5. He fights with the same freedom and joy that both the legend and Joy Boy represented. But Luffy is not Joy Boy reborn. He is not Nika descended from myth into reality. He is Monkey D. Luffy, his own person with his own dreams and his own way of fighting. This independence matters greatly. If Luffy were simply Joy Boy reincarnated, his journey would lose meaning. He would be fulfilling someone else's destiny rather than forging his own path. By establishing that Nika and Joy Boy are separate and that Luffy inherited rather than became either one, the story preserves Luffy's individual agency. He carries their will forward while remaining himself. The revelation also adds depth to One Piece's themes about inherited will. Throughout the series, characters carry forward the dreams and goals of those who came before them. Roger passed his will to Luffy through Shanks and the Straw Hat. The scholars of Ohara passed their quest for truth to Robin. Ace passed his belief in Luffy's greatness to Sabo and the Straw Hat crew. These inheritances don't make the inheritors into copies of those who came before. They take what was given and make it their own. Luffy inherits Nika's promise of liberation and Joy Boy's will to change the world. But he fights as Luffy. He makes friends as Luffy. He pursues freedom as Luffy. The drums of liberation beat with his heartbeat, not someone else's. His laughter and joy come from his own spirit, not a borrowed one. The power flows through him, but he shapes how it manifests based on who he is as a person. The world government's efforts to erase both Nika's legend and Joy Boy's history show their fear of what these concepts represent. They could kill Joy Boy. They could destroy the ancient kingdom. They could hunt the Nika fruit for centuries. But they could never eliminate the idea of liberation. They could never stop people from hoping for freedom. They could never erase the desire that created Nika's legend in the first place. This is why the distinction between Nika and Joy Boy matters so much for the story's future. Nika represents an eternal concept. As long as people suffer under oppression, they will pray for a liberator. As long as slaves exist, they will hope for someone to break their chains. As long as the powerful crush the weak, stories about warriors who fight for freedom will persist. Nika cannot die because the need for what he represents never disappears. Joy Boy represents the human embodiment of that eternal concept. He proved that one person with enough will and the right power can challenge even the strongest forces in the world. He showed that fighting for freedom matters, even if you lose. He demonstrated that inherited will can survive across centuries, waiting for the right person to carry it forward. Joy Boy lost his battle, but his defeat was not the end. It was a beginning. Now Luffy carries both legacies forward into the final war that will determine the world's future. He embodies Nika's ancient promise while wielding Joy Boy's inherited power. He fights as himself while honoring both the myth and the man who came before him. The distinction between Nika and Joy Boy enriches this journey by showing that legends inspire reality, but real people must choose to live up to those legends through their own actions and their own will. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the four gods of Skypiea: Sun, Rain, Forest, and Earth. The four gods of Skypiea: Sun, Rain, Forest, and Earth. During the Skypiea arc, One Piece introduced something that seemed like a small detail at the time. Four gods were mentioned during a flashback showing the history of Mont Blanc, Noland, and the warrior Calgara. These gods appeared briefly during a scene involving a human sacrifice, and many readers moved past the moment without giving it much thought. Years later, the Elbaf arc brought these four gods back into focus, revealing that this seemingly minor detail connects to the deepest mysteries of the One Piece world. The sacrifice at the altar. The four deities first appeared in chapter 287, titled God Killing. The chapter takes readers back 400 years before the current timeline, to the island of Jaya, before half of it was sent flying into the sky. The Shandian people who lived there were suffering from a terrible disease called tree fever. Their priest declared that the only way to end their suffering was to sacrifice their most beautiful woman to appease the gods. The chosen sacrifice was Moose, daughter of the greatest Shandian warrior Calgara. As moose was brought to the sacrificial altar, the Shandian people gathered to pray. They tied her down on a stone platform in the middle of water, offering her blood to the gods. During this ceremony, the Shandians prayed to 4 specific deities. They called out to the god of the Sunday. They called out to the god of rain. They called out to the god of the forest. They called out to the god of the earth. These were the 4 gods that the ancient Shandians worshipped and hoped would save their people from the plague killing them. The ceremony called forth Kashigami, a giant snake that the Shandians worshipped as a god. The massive serpent emerged from the water and moved to devour moose. At that moment, Mont Blanc Noland jumped into the water, climbed onto the altar, and killed Kashigami with a single sword strike. The Shandians were horrified. They believed Noland had murdered their god, and that the gods would punish them all for this sacrilege. This act set in motion the events that would lead to Noland and Kalgara's famous friendship, but more importantly, for the larger story, it established the existence of these 4 gods in One Piece mythology, a detail overlooked for years. For many years, readers treated this moment as world-building specific to Skypiea. The 4 gods seemed like deities worshipped by one ancient culture, nothing more. The Shandians believed in these gods the same way people in our world believe in various mythological figures. It appeared to be cultural flavor rather than something that would matter to the main plot. Readers understood that Kashigami was just a giant snake, not an actual god. The real gods mentioned during the prayer seemed equally mythological. The Harley texts change everything. Then came the Elbaf arc, specifically chapter 1138, and everything changed. The giants of Elbaf possess an ancient religious text called the Harley. This text is written in the same language as the poneglyphs, making it incredibly old and nearly impossible to translate. The Harley describes the history of the One Piece world across 3 different eras, called the First World, Second World, and Third World. Each era ended in destruction, and each destruction involved the gods mentioned back in Skypiea. Nico Robin, who can read the ancient language, translated the Harley texts with help from Jaguar D. Saul, who had kept the book safe in the Owl Library. At the same time, Frankie and a giant named Ripley discovered a massive mural carved into the bark of the treasure tree Adam. This mural depicted the events described in the Harley, showing visually what Robin read in the ancient text. The combination of Robin's translation and Frankie's discovery created one of the most important reveals in One Piece history: the First World and the Sun God's arrival. The Harley describes the First World as a time when flames engulfed the land. Humanity discovered fire within the earth and grew greedy, touching what the text calls the Forbidden Sunday. They mined this power source from deep underground, using it to fuel an advanced civilization. The mural shows people descending into the earth and emerging with balls of fire, which they brought to their cities. This civilization was powerful, but unjust. They kept slaves to mine the materials they needed for their endless energy source. The enslaved people suffered under this system. They prayed desperately for salvation, for someone to free them from their chains. Their prayers were answered when the Sun God appeared. The mural depicts the Sun God arriving in a ship that resembles Ark Maxim, suggesting this god may have come from the moon. The Sun God brought laughter and joy, fighting to liberate the oppressed people. His appearance fulfilled the prayers of those who needed him most. But the Sun God's arrival enraged another deity. The Earth God became furious, though whether the anger came from the Sun God's appearance or from humanity mining the Earth's resources remains unclear. The Earth God joined forces with the Serpent of Infernal Flames. Together, these 2 forces fought against the Sun God. Their battle destroyed the First World completely. Death and darkness shrouded everything. The world ended, and countless lives were lost. The text states they would never meet again, suggesting a permanent separation happened during this destruction. The Second World and the Forest God's demons. The Second World came after many years had passed. Life rebuilt itself following the First World's destruction. During this era, the Harley mentions breath stirring within the void. the forest god appeared and sent forth demons. The meaning of these demons remains mysterious, but some theories connect them to devil fruits, which may have originated during this time period. The forest god tamed these demons, though what that means exactly is unclear. During the Second World, the sun god appeared again. This time, the sun god spread the fires of war rather than just bringing liberation. People of the half-moon dreamed. People of the full moon dreamed. The half-moon people likely refer to the D clan, while the full moon people probably mean the winged races like the Skypians and Birkins. Both groups wished for something, and their combined desires may have helped manifest the sun god's return. The text states that humans killed the sun and became gods. This refers to the events of the Void Century, when 20 kingdoms banded together to fight against Joy Boy, who wielded the power of the sun god Nika. The alliance defeated Joy Boy and formed the world government. After this victory, the sea god raged. The ancient weapons were used during the Great War, causing the sea levels to rise dramatically. The world sank approximately 200 meters into the ocean. Islands were flooded. Land masses disappeared. The sea god's rage reshaped the entire planet. Once again, the text says, "They will never meet," marking another permanent separation. The Third World and the promise of reunion. The Third World is the current era in One Piece. The Harley describes chaos and emptiness. Inconvenient remnants remember a promised day and hear the voice of the half-moon. The sun god returns once more, dancing and laughing, leading the world toward its end. But this time, the ending brings hope. The sun will return and bring a new morning. This time, they will surely meet again. The prophecy suggests the Third World's destruction will be different from the previous two, ending not in permanent separation, but in reunion. The gods are real. The Harley's mention of 4 gods confirms what the Shandians knew 400 years ago. These gods are not just myths, they are real forces that have shaped the world's history across multiple eras. The sun god has appeared in each destruction, first as a liberator, then as a warrior spreading war, and now as a figure who will guide the world to its end and bring a new dawn. Luffy, with his awakened Nika fruit, embodies the current sun god. The earth god appeared in the first world and raged when the sun god arrived to help the enslaved people. This god worked with the serpent of infernal flames to destroy the first world. Many theories suggest Imu, the mysterious ruler of the world government, may be the earth god or someone who possesses that god's power. Imu's monstrous silhouette, shown in previous chapters, resembles the large figure depicted in the mural fighting against Joy Boy and the allied forces during the Void Century. The forest god appeared in the Second World during the Void Century. This god sent forth demons and tamed them, which could relate to the creation or control of devil fruits. The connection between forests, trees, and fruits makes this theory appealing. Some fans speculate that Admiral Ryokugyu, who has the Mori Mori no Mi Woods fruit that lets him create and control plant life, might be connected to the forest god's power. His devil fruit gives him abilities that match what a forest god would possess. The sea god's rage came after the sun god was killed during the Void Century. The ancient weapons caused massive flooding, raising sea levels and reshaping the world's geography. This catastrophic event could represent the sea god's anger at humanity's actions. Some theories connect the sea god to Poseidon, the ancient weapon that controls sea kings. Shirahoshi currently possesses Poseidon's power, making her the most likely candidate for a figure connected to the sea god, rain god, or sea god. The rain god is the only deity from the original 4 mentioned in Skypiea that does not appear explicitly in the Harley texts. In the Harley, the sea god takes the rain god's place in the story. This could mean the rain god and sea god are the same entity, or that different eras knew this god by different names. Water connects rain and sea, making them related concepts. The deity's name may have changed over time, or different cultures may have called the same god by different titles. Many fans theorize that Monkey D. Dragon Luffy's father and leader of the Revolutionary Army, possesses the Rain God's power. Dragon's appearances in the story are almost always accompanied by storms, rain, wind, and lightning. When he saved Luffy in Logtown, a sudden storm appeared that helped the Straw Hats escape. When Dragon appears, the weather changes dramatically. For someone whose goal is to liberate oppressed people from the world government's rule, possessing the Rain God's power would create an interesting parallel with his son's Sun God abilities. Gods shape history. The revelation that these four gods are real and have existed across multiple world-ending events changes how readers understand One Piece's cosmology. The series always contained mythological elements, but the Harley texts confirm that gods actually exist as forces shaping history. They are not just stories people tell. They are not just devil fruit powers named after legends. These gods have appeared throughout history, fought each other, destroyed worlds, and shaped the course of civilization. The Shandians 400 years ago were not worshipping abstract concepts. They prayed to real entities that had answered prayers before and could do so again. When they called out to the god of the sun, rain, forest, and earth during Moose's sacrifice, they were invoking forces that truly existed in their world's past. The Shandians preserved this knowledge through their religious practices, even though they may not have fully understood the god's true nature or history. Skypia's hidden importance. The fact that Skypia, an arc many readers initially dismissed as filler or less important, contained this crucial information shows Oda's incredible long-term planning. The four gods mentioned in chapter 287 seemed like background detail for world building. 20 years and more than 800 chapters later, those gods returned as central figures in the story's most important mysteries. Skypia's reputation has grown significantly among fans, who now recognize how much crucial information that arc contained about the series' deeper lore. The connection between Skypia's Shandians and Elbaf's giants makes sense when considering both cultures' relationship with the sky. The Shandians ended up living in the sky after the knock-up stream sent half of Jaya flying upward. The giants of Elbaf have strong connections to ancient history and have preserved the Harley texts for countless generations. Both cultures maintained knowledge about the four gods, even if that knowledge became distorted or incomplete over time. The Shandians remembered the gods' names and prayed to them. The giants recorded the gods' actions in their most sacred text. The final war approaches. Understanding the four gods helps readers grasp the true scope of One Piece's final conflict. The story is not just about pirates versus the world government. The final war will involve godlike forces that have shaped the world since ancient times. Luffy carries the sun god's power. Imu likely represents the earth god. The ancient weapons connect to these cosmic forces. The D-Clan's ancient enemy, the people who became the world government, may have killed the sun god and taken the power of gods for themselves, just as the Harley describes. The Third World's prophecy states that this time, they will surely meet again. Previous destructions ended in separation. The First World ended with, they would never meet again, after the Sun God was defeated by the Earth God. The Second World ended with the same phrase after Joy Boy was killed. But the Third World's destruction promises reunion rather than separation. This suggests the final war will not end the same way as previous conflicts. Instead of gods and people being separated forever, they will finally meet and unite. Luffy's role as the Sun God connects him to this ancient pattern, while also breaking it. He is not the first Sun God to appear in the world. He is not even the second, but he may be the one who finally changes the cycle. Previous sun gods were defeated. Previous attempts at liberation failed. The world was destroyed twice before, and both times ended in tragedy and separation. Luffy's journey toward becoming Pirate King and finding the One Piece may be the key to ending this cycle and bringing about the reunion the prophecy promises. The four gods of Skypiea represent One Piece's grandest mysteries brought to life. They connect the distant past to the present. They link Skypia's seemingly standalone story to the main narrative's core themes. They transform what looked like a simple adventure arc into a crucial piece of the series' endgame. The Sun God, Earth God, Forest God, and Sea God, or Rain God, are not just mythological figures. They are real, they are powerful, and they will play crucial roles in determining the world's future when the final war comes. The symbolism of divine domains. The symbolism behind each god's domain also reveals important themes in One Piece's story. The sun represents freedom, warmth, and life-giving energy. It makes sense that the sun god would be associated with liberation and bringing joy to oppressed people. The sun rises every day without fail, suggesting hope that always returns. Luffy's personality matches this symbolism perfectly. He brings dawn wherever he goes, lighting up people's lives and freeing them from darkness. The earth represents stability, resources, and the foundation of life. An earth god would be concerned with the planet itself and its resources. The anger directed at humanity for mining the earth's core shows the earth god protecting the planet from exploitation. This creates a complex dynamic where the earth god's actions, while destructive, came from a desire to protect the world from greedy humans. If Imu truly is the earth god, it explains why the world government claims to maintain order and stability, even though their methods involve oppression. The forest represents nature's wildness, growth, and the untamed aspects of the natural world. Forests are places of mystery, where anything might be found. The forest god sending forth demons and taming them suggests control over chaotic or dangerous forces. If these demons are devil fruits, the forest god would be responsible for introducing the most chaotic power system in One Piece's world. Devil fruits break natural laws and create abilities that defy normal physics. A forest god controlling these impossible powers fits thematically. The sea represents the ever-present force that challenges every character in One Piece. The sea is both life-giving and deadly. It provides food and transportation, while also killing anyone who eats a devil fruit. A sea god's rage causing worldwide flooding shows the ocean's destructive power when angered. The sea is the ultimate judge in One Piece's world, rejecting those who gain unnatural powers. This rejection might be the sea god's response to the forest god's demons. The broken balance. The relationship between these four gods suggests a balance that humanity disrupted. The sun brings light and warmth. The earth provides foundation and resources. The forest represents nature's chaos and possibilities. The sea surrounds everything and judges all. When humanity grew greedy and disrupted this balance by mining the forbidden sun, they set off a chain of divine conflicts that destroyed worlds. The gods fought each other instead of maintaining their natural balance. Understanding this divine balance helps explain why the world government fears Luffy so much. He is not just a pirate with a powerful devil fruit. He is the return of the sun god, a force that has twice before brought about world-ending conflicts with other gods. The five elders recognized his fruit's awakening as an apocalyptic event because they know history. They know what happens when the sun god appears. They know the pattern leads to world destruction. Even though they serve what might be the earth god, they fear the sun god's return. All forces converge. The current era brings all these forces together for a final confrontation. Luffy embodies the sun god's power and will. The revolutionary army, possibly led by the rain god's power through Dragon, works to overthrow the world government. Ancient weapons that connect to these godlike forces are awakening. The D-Clan, who have opposed the gods who became the world government, are stepping forward. All the elements that led to previous world destructions are converging once more. But this time feels different because of Luffy himself. Previous sun gods fought with specific goals. The first sun god answered prayers and fought to liberate slaves, but this led to the earth god's rage and world destruction. Joy Boy fought during the Void Century and spread the fires of war, leading to his death and another destruction. Luffy fights not because he wants to liberate the world in an abstract sense, but because his friends need him. He fights because people he cares about are suffering. This personal motivation, rather than ideological mission, might be what finally breaks the cycle. The prophecy in the Harley's Third World chapter says, "They will surely meet again." After two destructions that ended in separation, the third time promises reunion. Maybe this means the gods will finally meet peacefully instead of in conflict. Maybe it means the D clan will reunite with the gods who became their enemies. Maybe it means humanity and the divine forces will finally achieve balance instead of one side dominating the other. The exact meaning remains mysterious, but the promise of meeting again suggests hope rather than tragedy. The four gods of Skypiea evolved from background mythology to central players in One Piece's endgame. What seemed like cultural flavor in an adventure arc turned out to be fundamental world building, establishing forces that shape the entire series. The Shandians' prayers 400 years ago connected to events spanning thousands of years of history across multiple world-ending catastrophes. One Piece rewards long-term readers who pay attention to details that seem minor at the time. The four gods exemplify this perfectly, taking a brief moment from early in the Grand Line and revealing it as crucial setup for the story's final saga. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have Monkey D. Dragon as the Rain God Theory. Monkey D. Dragon as the Rain God Theory. Monkey D. Dragon stands as one of One Piece's most mysterious characters. Despite his enormous importance to the story as Luffy's father and leader of the Revolutionary Army, he has appeared only a handful of times across hundreds of chapters. Every single appearance has been brief. Every single appearance has been shrouded in mystery. And every single appearance has been accompanied by dramatic changes in weather. This consistent pattern has led fans to one of the most compelling theories in One Piece, that Dragon possesses the power of the Rain God, one of the four deities mentioned during the Skypiea arc, the Logtown Storm. Dragon first appeared in chapter 100, titled "The Legend Has Begun," during the Logtown arc. The town of Logtown holds special significance in One Piece's world as the place where Gol D. Roger was born and executed. Luffy and his crew stopped there before entering the Grand Line, and Luffy foolishly climbed onto the same execution platform where Roger died. Buggy the Clown captured Luffy and prepared to execute him in front of a crowd, mirroring Roger's own death. At the moment Buggy's blade was about to fall, a lightning bolt struck the execution platform. The bolt destroyed the platform, saved Luffy's life, and allowed him to escape. Sanji called it divine intervention. No natural explanation seemed sufficient for lightning to strike at that exact moment, hitting that exact spot, saving Luffy from certain death. The timing was too perfect. The accuracy was too precise. Something beyond coincidence had to be involved. Shortly after the lightning strike, Dragon appeared in Logtown. The town was hit by a massive storm. Heavy rain poured down. Strong winds blew through the streets. The weather had been clear before, but suddenly turned violent and chaotic. When Marine Captain Smoker had Luffy pinned down and was about to capture him, a powerful gust of wind blew away all the Marines in the area. This wind allowed Luffy to escape and reach his ship. As the Straw Hats sailed away, Dragon watched from the shore and told Luffy to pursue his dreams. The connection between Dragon's presence and the dramatic weather changes seemed obvious. The storm appeared when Dragon arrived. The wind blast that saved Luffy from Smoker happened while Dragon was standing nearby. The lightning that struck the execution platform occurred right before Dragon revealed himself. Either Dragon possessed the most incredible luck in the world, showing up during natural storms that just happened to save his son at crucial moments, or he was causing these weather phenomena himself, Grey Terminal, and the saving wind. Later in the series, another flashback showed Dragon at Grey Terminal during Luffy's childhood. Grey Terminal was a massive garbage dump where the poorest people of the Goa Kingdom lived. The nobles planned to burn Grey Terminal to the ground before a visit from the world nobles. not caring that doing so would kill everyone living there. A huge fire raged through the area, trapping countless people, including Sabo, one of Luffy's childhood friends. Dragon was present during this fire. Suddenly, a powerful blast of wind cleared a path through the flames. This wind created an escape route that allowed many people to survive who would have otherwise died. Again, Dragon's presence coincided with a dramatic weather event that saved lives. Again, the timing was too perfect to be coincidence. The wind appeared exactly when needed, clearing exactly the path required, saving exactly the people Dragon likely wanted to save. These two incidents form the core evidence for Dragon possessing weather-controlling abilities. Both times he appeared, impossible weather events happened. Both times, these events accomplished objectives that aligned with Dragon's goals. In Logtown, the storm and wind saved his son from Marines. At Grey Terminal, wind saved oppressed people from a fire set by nobles. The pattern connects Dragon's presence to helpful weather phenomena that aid those he wants to protect. Design hints and symbolic connections. Dragon's character design reinforces this connection to weather and storms. He always wears a long, dark green cloak with a hood. This cloak covers most of his body and protects him from wind and rain. Someone who constantly deals with storms would naturally dress in weather-resistant clothing. Dragon's ship is named the Wind Granma. The word wind in his ship's name feels like a deliberate choice by Oda to hint at Dragon's powers without explicitly stating them. Even Dragon's way of speaking includes weather-related phrases. He tells people about the winds of fate guiding their paths. These winds appear to be more than metaphorical. The theory that Dragon possesses god-level powers gained massive support after the revelation about Luffy's devil fruit. For the entire series, everyone believed Luffy had eaten the Gomu Gomu no Mi, a paramecia-type fruit that made his body rubber. Then, during the Wano arc, the truth emerged. Luffy's fruit was actually the Hito Hito no Mi, model Nika, a mythical Zoan that let him transform into the sun god. This revelation changed everything fans understood about devil fruits and mythology in One Piece. The four gods confirmed. If the sun god mentioned in Skypia's ancient legends turned out to be real, embodied in a devil fruit that Luffy possessed, then logically the other three gods mentioned alongside him should also be real. The Shandians 400 years ago prayed to four deities during their sacrifice ceremony. They called out to the sun god. They called out to the rain god. They called out to the forest god. They called out to the earth god. One of these gods was confirmed real. The others likely exist as well, waiting to be revealed. The Elbaf arc provided further confirmation of multiple gods existing in One Piece's world. The Harley texts, ancient scriptures kept by the giants, describe three different eras of the world. These texts mention the sun god multiple times. They also mention the earth god who raged when the sun god appeared. They mention the forest god who sent forth demons. Interestingly, instead of mentioning the rain god by name, the Harley texts refer to a sea god who stormed when humans killed the Sunday. This sea god might be the same deity as the rain god, just known by a different name in different eras or cultures. Water connects rain and sea. Storms happen both in the sky and on the ocean. A god who controls rain would logically have power over water in general, which would include the sea. The name might have changed over time, or different groups might call the same deity different things. The giants might know this god as the sea god, while the Shandians knew them as the rain god. Both names would apply to the same powerful entity who controls water, weather, and storms. What type of devil fruit? If Dragon does possess the rain god's power, what type of devil fruit would it be? Fans have debated this question extensively. Three possibilities exist, each with evidence supporting it. The first possibility is a paramecia-type fruit that grants control over weather. Paramecia fruits are the most common type and have the broadest range of abilities. Big Mom's Soul fruit let her create living weather phenomena like the storm cloud Zeus. A weather fruit or storm fruit could give Dragon similar abilities, letting him conjure storms, control wind, summon lightning, and bring rain at will. The second possibility is a Logia-type fruit. Logia fruits are the rarest and generally most powerful devil fruit class. They let users create, control, and transform into natural elements. Dragon could have a wind fruit that makes him a wind human, able to become wind itself. This would explain his ability to appear and disappear mysteriously. As wind can move anywhere, it would explain the powerful gusts that save people. Wind manipulation could also create the atmospheric changes needed to form storms, bringing rain and lightning as secondary effects of controlling air currents. The third possibility is a mythical Zoan-type fruit, specifically the Hito no Mi model, rain god. This would parallel Luffy's sun god fruit perfectly. Just as Luffy transforms into the legendary Nika, Dragon would transform into the ancient rain god. Mythical Zoan fruits can have special abilities beyond just transformation. Marco's phoenix fruit let him create healing flames. Kaido's dragon fruit gave him control over flame clouds and weather. A rain god, Zoan, would naturally grant weather-controlling abilities as part of its power set. Each possibility has merit. A Paramecia would be simple and straightforward. A Logia would be powerful and rare, fitting Dragon's status. A mythical Zoan would create beautiful symmetry with his son Luffy, also having a god-type Zoan fruit. Until Oda reveals the truth, fans can only speculate based on the evidence Dragon has shown so far. The Revolutionary Storm. Thematically, Dragon embodying the rain god makes perfect sense for his character. Rain represents change. Rain brings transformation. When rain falls on dry earth, life grows. When storms come, they wash away the old and make room for the new. Dragon leads the Revolutionary Army, an organization dedicated to changing the world. They want to wash away the corrupt world government. They want to transform society. They want to bring new growth to places where people suffer under oppression. Rain also represents unpredictability. You cannot control when rain will fall or where storms will strike. The Revolutionary Army operates in shadows, appearing unexpectedly to overthrow corrupt rulers. They strike like sudden storms, overwhelming their enemies before disappearing again. Dragon himself follows this pattern. He appears rarely, always at crucial moments, makes a dramatic impact, then vanishes. He moves like a storm that comes without warning and leaves lasting change in its wake. Father and son, sun and rain. The connection between father and son becomes even more meaningful if both possess god-type powers. Luffy brings the dawn as the sun god. Dragon brings the storm as the rain god. The sun and rain work together to create life and growth. Plants need both sunlight and water to flourish. Similarly, Luffy and Dragon both work towards similar goals of freedom and change, just through different methods. Luffy fights directly, bringing joy and liberation wherever he goes. Dragon works strategically, building organizations and planning revolutions. Their powers would complement each other perfectly. The sun evaporates water to create clouds. Rain falls when those clouds gather. The sun disperses clouds after rain falls. The natural cycle of weather involves both sun and rain working in balance. Perhaps Luffy and Dragon's relationship reflects this natural balance. The sun god's son, who brings liberation through joy and laughter. The rain god father, who brings revolution through storms and change. Another piece of supporting evidence comes from Dragon's flag. The Revolutionary Army's symbol shows a compass rose being struck by lightning. Lightning connects directly to storms and rain. The compass represents navigation and finding new directions. Together, the imagery suggests lightning strikes, bringing change and showing new paths forward. This symbolism aligns perfectly with a rain god who uses storms to transform the world and guide people toward freedom. The world's worst criminal. Dragon's role in the story also suggests enormous power that has been deliberately hidden. He is called the world's worst criminal. The world government considers him their greatest threat, even more dangerous than the 4 emperors who rule the seas. Someone called the world's worst criminal must possess incredible strength to justify that title. Someone who threatens the entire world government must have power that rivals or exceeds the strongest marines and pirates. A god-type devil fruit would provide that level of power. Consider also that Dragon was a marine before becoming a revolutionary. He knows the world government from the inside. He understands their methods and weaknesses. If he possesses the rain god fruit, he may have obtained it while still in the Marines, or shortly after leaving. The world government would have been hunting this fruit just like they hunted the Nika fruit. Dragon obtaining it would give him a massive advantage in his war against them and explain why they fear him so much. Revolutionary methods, like weather patterns. The Revolutionary Army's actions also show weather-like patterns. They appear in kingdoms suffering under tyranny. They help overthrow corrupt rulers. They teach people to fight for their own freedom. Then they leave, letting those people build their own future. This resembles how rain falls, helps things grow, then stops, letting the sun nurture what the rain began. The Revolutionary Army brings the storm of revolution, then moves on, while the liberated people create their own bright future. When Dragon saved Sabo from the ocean after a celestial dragon shot down his ship, witnesses described Dragon appearing from nowhere. One moment, Sabo was drowning. The next moment, Dragon was there, pulling him from the water. Later that same day, Dragon arrived at the Revolutionary Army's ship by descending from the sky. These accounts suggest Dragon can fly or move through the air in ways normal people cannot. Wind powers would explain this ability. A Logia that turns him into wind could let him travel through the air freely. A mythical Zoan with weather powers might grant flight as one of its abilities. Saving the reveal. The mystery surrounding Dragon's powers serves a narrative purpose. Oda is saving Dragon's full reveal for the story's final stages. When the Revolutionary Army finally makes their move against the world government, Dragon will show his true strength. The reveal of his devil fruit and abilities will be a major moment, possibly rivaling Luffy's Gear 5 transformation in terms of impact. By building anticipation through hints and theories for hundreds of chapters, Oda ensures that Dragon's eventual power reveal will feel earned and exciting. The parallel structure between Luffy and Dragon also extends to their devil fruits being misnamed or hidden. The world government renamed Luffy's Nika fruit as the Gomu Gomu no Mi to hide its true significance. They hunted it for 800 years but kept its real name secret. If Dragon has the rain god fruit, the world government likely tried to hide or rename it as well. They would not want people knowing that one of the 4 legendary god fruits fell into the hands of their worst enemy. Dragon might have eaten a fruit with a mundane name, only for its true nature as a god fruit to be revealed later. Beyond coincidence. Some skeptics argue that Dragon might not have a devil fruit at all. They point out that incredibly strong characters like Shanks and Garp rely on haki and physical abilities rather than devil fruit powers. Dragon could be the same, with his weather phenomena being coincidental or achieved through other means. However, this explanation strains credibility. The pattern of weather events happening exactly when Dragon needs them, exactly where he is, exactly how he requires them, goes beyond coincidence. While Dragon undoubtedly has powerful haki and combat skills, the weather connection seems too consistent to dismiss. The rain god theory also connects to larger themes in One Piece about inherited will and legacy. Roger inherited the will of Joy Boy without having a devil fruit connection to him. Luffy inherited both Roger's will and Joy Boy's power through the Nika fruit. Dragon might represent another branch of this inheritance tree. He carries forward the will to change the world while possessing the power of a different god from ancient times. The gods mentioned in Skypiea all work together in mythology. Now their modern inheritors might work together to reshape the world. The coming storm. As One Piece enters its final saga, the importance of the 4 gods becomes increasingly clear. The sun god walks in the form of Luffy. The earth god likely exists in Imu, the mysterious ruler of the world government. The forest god might be connected to Admiral Ryokugyu's plant-based powers, and the rain god almost certainly flows through Dragon. the revolutionary who brings storms of change wherever he appears. These four forces will clash in the final war that determines the world's future. Dragon's weather powers have already changed history multiple times. The storm at Logtown allowed Luffy to escape Smoker and continue his journey. Without that wind, the story might have ended before the Grand Line. The wind at Grey Terminal saved people who might have died, preserving future revolutionaries. Dragon's weather control has rippled through events, causing changes that shaped the world toward this final confrontation. When he finally unleashes his full power, those ripples will become waves. The symbolism of a rain god leading a revolution resonates deeply. Revolutions are like storms. They build pressure slowly. They gather strength from many sources. Then, they break suddenly, with overwhelming force. They wash away what existed before. They clear the air. They water the seeds of new growth. After the storm passes, the world looks different. The sun can shine on ground cleared of corruption. New life can grow in soil enriched by change. Dragon brings that storm. Luffy brings that Sunday. Together, father and son will transform their world. Evidence continues mounting with each new chapter. Small hints and references accumulate. The theory gains strength not from one definitive proof, but from dozens of small pieces fitting together into a clear picture. Dragon's cloak, his ship's name, his weather-related speech patterns, his presence during storms, his role as a revolutionary, his connection to water and wind, his son being the sun god. All these elements align, pointing toward the same conclusion. Monkey D. Dragon possesses the power of the rain god, and when he finally shows that power in full, the world of One Piece will never be the same. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Admiral Ryokugyu as the Forest God Theory. Admiral Ryokugyu as the Forest God Theory. Admiral Ryokugyu possesses the Mori Mori no Mi, which grants him the ability to create and control forests. This makes him the leading candidate among fans for being the forest god, one of the four deities mentioned in Skypiea, alongside the sun god, rain god, and earth god. Who Ryokugyu is and his role in the Marines. Ryokugyu's real name is Aramaki. He became one of the 3 admirals in the Marines during the 2-year time skip after the Summit War. The Summit War caused huge changes in the Marine ranks. Akainu got promoted to Fleet Admiral, the highest position possible. Kuzan, also known as Aokiji, resigned from the Marines completely after losing a 10-day fight against Akainu. This left 2 empty admiral positions. The world government used something called the World Military Draft to find new admirals quickly. They recruited Ryokugyu and Fujitora through this draft. Both men had incredible reputations for their strength before joining. Ryokugyu was born 41 years ago in a place called the Taya Kingdom in South Blue. He worked as a police officer there, but he got thrown in prison after causing some incident involving a woman. The details of this incident remain unknown. The world government freed him from prison, specifically to recruit him as an admiral because of his enormous power. Ryokugyu's alias means green bull in Japanese. Every admiral gets a name that combines a color with an animal. The green part connects directly to his plant powers. The bull part appears in his attacks and represents his personality. He's stubborn and charges forward with his goals, no matter what stands in his way. As an admiral, Ryokugyu commands massive authority. Only the fleet admiral ranks higher. He can order around tens of thousands of Marines. He can call buster calls, which are world-ending military operations. He represents one of the world government's 3 greatest military powers, meaning he's one of the strongest fighters they can deploy. What the Mori Mori no Mi does. Ryokugyu ate the Mori Mori no Mi, which translates to the woods fruit, or forest fruit in English. He claims it's a Logia-type devil fruit. Logia fruits let users create, control, and transform into a specific element. Ryokugyu's element is plant life, specifically the kind that makes up forests. This makes his fruit unique among all Logias. Every other Logia we've seen transforms users into non-living elements like fire, ice, light, smoke, or magma. Ryokugyu's fruit is the only Logia whose element consists of organic, living matter. Plants are alive, they grow, breathe, and die. This difference matters because it hints his fruit might be more than just a regular Logia. His powers let him create and control all kinds of plants. He can grow massive trees instantly. He can make vines, flowers, grass, moss, and branches. These plants move freely, despite being normally rigid. When he attacks, he turns his fingers into sharpened tree branches that shoot out and impale enemies. The branches don't just stab, they also drain all liquid from whatever they touch. This includes moisture from human bodies. Victims get completely dehydrated and become shriveled husks. Unlike most Logias, Ryokugyu cannot turn intangible and let attacks pass through him. His body is solid wood when transformed. However, he can regenerate endlessly from wounds if the attacker doesn't use Haki. He can grow back damaged limbs instantly. He can even shrink down to a tiny sapling and regrow his entire body from that. Ryokugyu can transform into a giant wooden golem. This form towers over buildings. He uses a technique called Kiniku Mori Mori, which means forbidden hate forests. The name is a pun on the Japanese word for muscles. When he uses this form, his strength and durability increase dramatically. The golem can withstand enormous attacks that would destroy a normal person. He can also use his plants for transportation. He grows a giant flower on his back and spins it like helicopter blades to fly. This lets him travel huge distances quickly. That's how he flew all the way from Marine headquarters to Wano country. Plants growing wherever he walks is another strange ability. Grass, flowers, and small plants sprout up along his path. He seems to do this passively without trying. This hints at his connection to nature being deeper than just controlling plants. How Ryokugyu survived 3 years without food. One of the most bizarre facts about Ryokugyu is that he hasn't eaten any food in 3 years. He openly states he finds eating bothersome and just stopped doing it. For a normal human, this would be impossible. People die after weeks without food, but Ryokugyu has been fasting since he became an admiral, a period of 3 full years, and shows no signs of weakness or hunger. Fans have theorized he survives through photosynthesis, just like real plants. Plants don't need to eat other organisms. They create their own energy from sunlight, water, and air. If Ryokugyu's body has genuinely become plant-like at a fundamental level, he might do the same thing. This would explain how he stays alive and maintains his incredible strength without consuming any food. This ability goes beyond what a normal devil fruit should grant. Other Logias don't change their users' basic biology like this. Smoker still needs to eat, even though he's made of smoke. Ace had to eat, even though he was made of fire. The fact that Ryokugyu doesn't need food suggests his fruit changed his body in ways that go deeper than typical Logia transformations. The 4 gods. Mentioned in Skypiea. During the Skypiea arc, fans first learned about 4 gods. Chapter 287 showed a flashback from 400 years in the past. The Shandian people prepared to sacrifice a girl named Moose to save their island from a deadly disease. During the ceremony, they prayed to 4 gods: the sun god, the rain god, the earth god, and the forest god. For years, these gods seemed like meaningless background mythology, just religious beliefs from an ancient culture. Then the Wano arc changed everything. Luffy awakened his devil fruit during his fight with Kaido. The world government's agents watching the battle panicked. They revealed that Luffy's fruit wasn't the Gomu Gomu no Mi at all. Its true name was the Hito no Mi model Nika, the human fruit model, sun god. This revelation proved that at least one of the 4 gods from Skypiea actually existed. The sun god, Nika, was real. He existed in ancient history. The world government renamed his devil fruit and hid its true nature for centuries. If one god was real, the other 3 probably exist too. The Harley texts from Elbaf recently provided even more evidence. These ancient scriptures describe 3 different worlds that existed throughout history. Each world ended in destruction. The texts specifically mention the sun god, earth god, forest god, and sea god, which might be the same as the rain god. This confirms that all 4 gods played major roles in world-ending events. Why fans think Ryokugyu has the forest god fruit. The forest god theory proposes that Ryokugyu unknowingly ate the Hito no Mi model forest god. Just like Luffy, he might not know his fruit's true identity. The world government could have renamed it and classified it as a Logia to hide its importance. This theory draws direct parallels to Luffy's situation. Luffy spent his entire life believing he ate a paramecia fruit called the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Nobody knew the truth. The fruit's will kept its identity hidden. Only when Luffy awakened, it did the truth emerge. The exact same thing could be happening with Ryokugyu. The evidence for this theory comes from multiple sources. First, Ryokugyu's powers perfectly match what you'd expect from a forest god. He creates forests instantly. He controls plant life with absolute authority. Plants grow wherever he walks. He survives without eating through photosynthesis. These abilities feel mythological rather than scientific. They're powers you'd expect from a god of nature, not just someone who ate a plant Logia. Second, his power to drain life force from victims seems more sinister than a regular Logia should allow. When his roots impale someone, they don't just stab. They suck out all moisture and leave victims as dried husks. This life-draining ability mirrors the forest god's role in the Harley texts, where the forest god sent forth demons during the Second World's destruction. Third, the world government has a clear pattern of hiding godly devil fruits. They renamed the Nika fruit to Gomu Gomu no Mi. They guarded it heavily. They even had CP9 agents specifically tasked with protecting it. If they did this for one god fruit, they probably did it for all of them. Giving the forest god fruit to a loyal marine admiral while keeping its true nature secret would be a smart strategy. Fourth, his name provides a clue. Ryokugyu means green bull, but the Ryo part uses the kanji for green. Green is the color of forests, plants, and nature. This color theme connects him directly to the forest god's domain. What the Harley texts say about the forest god. The Harley is an ancient religious scripture passed down in Elbaf for generations. It describes 3 worlds that existed throughout history. The current world is the third world. Before it came the second world, which corresponds to the Void Century, and the first world, which existed even before that. The first world ended when the sun god Nika appeared to free slaves. The earth god got enraged by Nika's arrival. Together with the serpent of infernal flames, the earth god destroyed the entire world. This battle caused countless deaths and shrouded the world in death and darkness. The second world is where the forest god becomes important. The Harley texts state, "Breath stirred within the void, and the forest god sent forth demons." This line confirms that the forest god actively participated in the second world's destruction. The demons the forest god sent forth might refer to devil fruits themselves, since the world government's agents call devil fruit users demons. The texts also say, "The sun did nothing but spread the fires of war." This refers to Joy Boy, the second user of the Nika fruit, fighting during the Void Century. The half-moon people, likely the D-clan, and full-moon people, likely the winged races, dreamed during this time. Their dreams might have created devil fruits or helped birth Joy Boy. Then the texts state, "Humans slew the sun and became gods, and the sea god raged. They would never meet again." This describes how the 20 kings defeated Joy Boy and the ancient kingdom. After killing the sun god's user, they declared themselves gods and moved to Mary Geoise, atop the Red Line. The forest god's role in all this remains mysterious. Who was this god? What were these demons they sent? Why did they oppose the sun god? The texts don't provide clear answers, but they confirm that the forest god was a major player in world-ending events. The Third World, which is the current time period, includes a prophecy. Surely, this time, they will meet again. This suggests that the gods will encounter each other once more, possibly when Luffy and whoever holds the forest god fruit eventually clash. How Ryokugyu destroyed King and Queen. 1 week after the raid on Onigashima ended, Ryokugyu flew to Wano country. Fleet Admiral Akainu called him and warned him not to make the situation worse. Ryokugyu ignored the warning. He had his own plan. He went to the prisoner mine in Udon, where the defeated Beast's pirates were being held. King and Queen, Kaido's 2 strongest commanders, were there recovering from their battles. King had fought Zoro and lost. Queen had fought Sanji and lost. Both were still heavily injured and bandaged. Ryokugyu attacked without warning. He transformed into his plant form and unleashed a massive assault. His branches shot out in all directions, impaling dozens of Beast's pirates simultaneously. The guards, including Babanuki, couldn't stop him. He moved through the prison like a natural disaster. King and Queen tried to fight back. King has Lunarian fire powers that should counter plant-based abilities. Queen has cybernetic enhancements and ancient Zoan powers, but they were too weakened from their previous fights. They couldn't use their full strength. Ryokugyu's branches pierced both commanders. His roots drained all the liquid from their bodies. King and Queen shriveled up, becoming dried husks. Queen, who was normally obese, became skinny. King lost all his strength. Ryokugyu then brutally kicked Queen multiple times while mocking them. He called them simple emperor commanders and said he would lose face if he was defeated by them. This victory demonstrated Ryokugyu's overwhelming power. King and Queen were worth over 1.3 billion berries each. They'd survived decades as Kaido's right-hand men. They'd fought against dozens of powerful enemies and won, but Ryokugyu defeated them both easily. The anime expanded this fight significantly, showing just how brutal and one-sided it was. After crushing the Beast's pirates, Ryokugyu started walking toward the Flower Capital. He wanted to capture Luffy. He believed that defeating a newly crowned emperor would impress Fleet Admiral Akainu and earn his approval. When Ryokugyu fought the samurai and Yamato, 6 members of the 9 Red Scabbards sensed Ryokugyu approaching. Denjiro, Raizo, Kawamatsu, Inuarashi, Nekomamushi, and Shinobu went to intercept him. These were legendary samurai who'd fought Kaido directly. They weren't weak opponents. Ryokugyu transformed into his giant wooden golem form. His tree body towered over buildings. He unleashed a large-scale attack, creating a forest that trapped the samurai. His branches grew and moved with incredible speed. The samurai fought back with all their skills, but Ryokugyu overwhelmed them. He impaled Raizo with his roots and drained him completely. Raizo shriveled up, just like King and Queen had. Ryokugyu pretended to feel pain from the samurai's attacks, then mocked them. He was toying with them, showing no respect for their strength. Yamato arrived to help. Yamato has the Inu Inu no Mi, model Okuchi no Makami, a mythical Zoan that lets her transform into a wolf deity. She's also Kaido's child and incredibly strong. She attacked Ryokugyu with a Supreme King Haki-infused strike. This attack actually damaged him and knocked him to the ground. Kozuki Momonosuke arrived next in his dragon form. As Wano's new shogun, he had to protect his country. Momonosuke tried to use Bolo Breath, a powerful dragon fire attack, but he couldn't produce fire yet because he was too nervous. Ryokugyu quickly trapped him with tree branches. The admiral mocked Momonosuke for being weak. He stated that Kaido's presence alone had kept enemies like himself away from Wano for years. Now that Kaido was gone, Wano was vulnerable. Ryokugyu seemed ready to conquer the entire country by himself. Why Shanks made Ryokugyu retreat. Then everything changed. A massive burst of Supreme King Haki washed over the battlefield from miles away. The Haki was so powerful it paralyzed Ryokugyu completely. He recognized it immediately. Shanks and the Red Hair Pirates were near Wano's shores. Shanks hadn't even set foot on the island. He was projecting his haki from miles away across the ocean. The pressure was enough to stop Ryokugyu's entire assault. Shanks spoke to Ryokugyu through his haki, asking if the new era of pirates terrified him. He told the admiral to leave his enemies alone and get lost. The Supreme King haki kept crushing down on Ryokugyu. Ryokugyu begrudgingly retreated. He stated clearly that he hadn't come to fight Shanks and the Red Hair pirates. He left Wano entirely, flying away on his flower helicopter. This retreat showed Ryokugyu's limits. Despite being an admiral, he knew he couldn't handle Shanks. An emperor of the sea was beyond his ability to defeat. After leaving Wano, Ryokugyu went to Sphinx Island. This was Whitebeard's old home. Edward Weevil, a former warlord claiming to be Whitebeard's son, was there. Ryokugyu defeated Weevil and arrested him. This showed that despite his retreat from Shanks, Ryokugyu was still incredibly powerful. Ryokugyu's personality and extreme beliefs. Ryokugyu follows a personal version of justice he calls determined justice. This is similar to Akainu's absolute justice, but with his own twist. He believes in carrying out justice, even if it kills him. He will complete his missions, no matter the cost. He's extremely loyal to the world government, more loyal than any other admiral. Unlike Fujitora, who questions the system, Ryokugyu genuinely believes the celestial dragons are gods. He thinks society functions best with a strict hierarchy, where those in power can do whatever they want to those below them. This worldview makes him incredibly dangerous. He believes countries not affiliated with the world government have no rights. He stated he could commit genocide against such countries if it served the world government's purposes. He sees nothing wrong with massacring innocent people if they don't bow to the celestial dragons. He also shows no honor in combat. When he fought the beast's pirates, he didn't try to arrest them. He brutally impaled them and drained their life force. He kicked Queen repeatedly while mocking him. He pretended to feel pain from Raizo's attacks just to taunt him before dehydrating him. These actions show cruelty beyond what's necessary. Despite this brutality, Ryokugyu also shows a laid-back personality when not fighting. He talks casually with Fujitora. He admits to liking beautiful women. He told Fujitora he would break his 3-year fast if a pretty woman fed him. He smokes cigarettes. He seems relaxed and conversational with people he considers equals. He greatly admires Fleet Admiral Akainu. He went to Wano specifically to gain Akainu's approval by defeating Luffy. He follows Akainu's ideology of absolute justice. However, he's also extremely self-willed. He disregards orders from superiors if he thinks he knows better. Akainu ordered him to make Fujitora leave Mary Geoise, but Ryokugyu refused and had a friendly chat with Fujitora instead. Problems with the forest god theory. Several major issues challenge this theory. First, Ryokugyu himself states his fruit is a Logia. He explicitly identified it as the Mori Mori no Mi, a Logia type. Unlike Luffy, who never knew his fruit's classification, Ryokugyu seems confident about what he ate. Of course, he could be wrong just like Luffy was, but it's still evidence against the theory. Second, Ryokugyu showed clear weaknesses that a god-level fruit shouldn't have. Fire damages his plant body significantly. During the Wano fight, he expressed concern about fire attacks. He even trained his plants to resist burning better, developing a technique called Bokurin, fireproof forest, specifically to counter fire. A true mythical god fruit probably wouldn't need such specific training to overcome basic elemental weaknesses. Third, Shanks intimidated him with haki and made him retreat. Would someone with a god fruit really back down so easily? Luffy fought Kaido for hours even before fully awakening his Nika powers. Joy Boy fought world-ending battles in ancient history. If Ryokugyu truly had a god fruit, he might show more confidence when facing an emperor. Fourth, he hasn't awakened his fruit. There's no evidence of awakening. His powers don't show the reality-warping effects that Luffy's awakening grants. He just makes and controls plants. If his fruit was secretly a mythical Zoan, it should show signs of a Zoan awakening, enhanced physical abilities, faster recovery, more stamina. We haven't seen this yet. Fifth, alternative candidates exist for the forest god. Many fans think Chopper might be the forest god instead. Chopper's Hito Hito no Mi fruit looks like a mushroom, which is unusual. Mushrooms are fungi related to forests. Chopper can talk to animals. He has an overwhelming urge to heal people. Forest gods in mythology often have healing powers. Chopper's connection to nature and medicine might hint at his fruit's true identity. Others suggest Usopp could be the forest god. The giants of Elbaf already call Usopp god because of his actions in Dressrosa. He uses pop greens, which are seeds that grow into plants instantly during battle. He has deep knowledge of botany. His lies often come true. If Usopp's eventual power-up involved awakening or gaining a forest god fruit, it would fit his character arc perfectly. Some fans even theorize Imu, the secret ruler of the world government, could be the forest god. Imu's room in Mary Geoise contains massive plants and flowers. Their silhouette appeared near a garden. The forest god sent forth demons in the Harley texts, which could refer to Imu, commanding the 5 elders, who have demonic yokai powers. This would make Imu an antagonist god, opposing Luffy's protagonist god. What this theory means for the final saga. If Ryokugyu truly has the forest god fruit, it would massively impact the story's final saga. The 4 gods theory creates perfect narrative symmetry. In ancient history, the earth god and forest god opposed the sun god. This ancient conflict destroyed the world twice. Now, in the present day, the same conflict could repeat itself with modern users of these fruits. Ryokugyu serves the world government. He fanatically believes in their ideology. He thinks the celestial dragons are gods. If he unknowingly possesses one of the ancient god fruits, he becomes a perfect antagonist to Luffy. The sun god, fighting the forest god, would mirror the battles from thousands of years ago. The Harley texts state the third meeting between these gods would be different. The first world ended with, they would never meet again. The second world also ended with, they would never meet again. But the third world's prophecy says, surely, this time, they will meet again. This suggests hope instead of tragedy. Maybe this time, the gods can find peace instead of destroying everything. Ryokugyu's extreme loyalty to the world government makes him ideologically opposed to Luffy's message of freedom. Luffy believes everyone should be free to chase their dreams. Ryokugyu believes in strict hierarchy, where those in power can do whatever they want. These opposing philosophies would make their battle about more than just strength. It would be a clash of ideals about how the world should function. The theory also raises questions about the world government's knowledge. If they renamed and hid the Nika fruit, they must know about all 4 god fruits. Do they have a list showing where each fruit is? Did they intentionally give the forest god fruit to a loyal admiral? Or did Ryokugyu find it by accident without the government knowing? If the government knows, they might have a plan for all 4 gods. They could be gathering the god fruits to prevent anyone from opposing them. Or they could be trying to awaken all 4 gods under their control to recreate the ancient weapon's power. This would explain why they're so terrified of Luffy's awakening. He disrupted their entire plan by awakening outside their control. Why Ryokugyu's role isn't over. Whether or not Ryokugyu has the forest god fruit, his story is far from finished. He's barely appeared in the series. He fought in Wano briefly, then left to arrest Weevil. We haven't seen his full power yet. We don't know his limits. We don't know his true motivations beyond wanting Akainu's approval. His extreme ideology puts him on a collision course with the Straw Hats. Luffy already defeated 2 emperors. He's now recognized as an emperor himself. Ryokugyu specifically went to Wano to capture Luffy. Only Shanks's intervention stopped their fight. That conflict remains unresolved. The Marines will play a huge role in the final war. 3 admirals represent the world government's greatest military power. If the Straw Hats and their allies fight the world government at Mary Geoise or elsewhere, they'll have to face all 3 admirals. Ryokugyu will be there. His plant powers and brutal fighting style will make him a terrifying opponent. His personality also guarantees conflict. He genuinely believes in the world government's evil system. He's not like Kizaru, who follows orders without caring much. Ryokugyu actively supports the celestial dragon's right to rule. He thinks their atrocities are justified. This makes him irredeemable as an antagonist. The forest god theory adds extra weight to his inevitable fight with Luffy. Even if the theory is wrong and he just has a powerful Logia, his plant abilities are incredibly dangerous. He defeated 2 Emperor commanders easily. He fought multiple legendary samurai and Yamato simultaneously. Only Shanks could stop him. These feats prove he ranks among the world's strongest fighters. The final saga will need major antagonists for Luffy and his crew to overcome. Ryokugyu fits perfectly as a high-level enemy who represents everything wrong with the current world. His fight with Luffy will be more than just a battle. It will be a statement about freedom versus control, dreams versus hierarchy, the new era versus the old order. Whether he's the forest god or just a powerful admiral with plant abilities, Ryokugyu's story promises to deliver one of the most important conflicts in One Piece's endgame. The theory simply adds mythological significance to what's already set up to be an epic confrontation. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Imu as the Earth God divided by Sea Devil theory. Imu as the Earth God divided by Sea Devil theory. Imu might represent Earth itself and the Sea Devil from Japanese folklore. When you reverse Imu's name, it becomes Umi, which means sea in Japanese. This connects them to both the Earth God mentioned in the Harley texts and the concept of a sea devil that curses devil fruit users. Who Imu is and why they rule the world. Imu is the supreme ruler of the world government. They sit on the empty throne, which is supposed to be unoccupied to represent equality among nations, but this is a lie. Someone does sit on that throne, Imu. Even the 5 elders, who publicly appear as the highest authorities, bow down to Imu and serve them completely. Imu's existence has been kept absolutely secret for centuries. Almost nobody in the world knows they exist. Only the highest-ranking members of the world government know the truth. The whole system pretends there's no single ruler to maintain the illusion of equality. But behind closed doors, Imu controls everything. Sabo, from the Revolutionary Army, discovered Imu's existence during the recent Leveille. He witnessed Imu sitting on the empty throne and saw them murder King Cobra of Alabasta. Sabo escaped and reported this shocking truth to the Revolutionary Army. Now, the secret is out, at least among those who oppose the world government. Imu has always appeared only in silhouette. Oda hasn't revealed their full appearance yet. We see a human-like figure with piercing red eyes that have black rings around the pupils. They wear a massive 3-pointed crown. Everything about them remains mysterious. Their age, gender, true identity, and exact powers. They command the 5 elders completely. When one of the elders failed a mission, Imu simply killed him from miles away and replaced him. They also command the Holy Knights, an elite group of celestial dragon warriors. Imu has authority over ancient weapons and used one to completely erase the kingdom of Lulusia from existence. Their power is unmatched, the name that reverses to mean sea. The most fascinating clue about Imu's identity comes from their name itself. If you reverse Imu in Japanese, it becomes Umi. In Japanese, Umi means sea or ocean. This reversal can't be a coincidence. Oda rarely does anything by accident. The sea is the single most important element in One Piece. The entire story revolves around pirates sailing across oceans. The sea grants life to islands. It connects the world, but it also poses the greatest danger to devil fruit users. Anyone who eats a devil fruit loses their ability to swim and becomes helpless in water. The sea actively rejects them. Vegapunk, the world's smartest scientist, explained this connection. He called the sea the mother of nature. According to Vegapunk, devil fruits represent unnatural evolution possibilities dreamed up by human desire rather than natural development. The sea, as Mother Nature's strongest force, loathes this unnatural status. Devil fruit users exist in dimensions dreamed up by others before them. They break the natural order, so the sea punishes them by taking away their ability to swim. Vegapunk said, "Devil fruit users are sinners in the eyes of Mother Nature. Their inability to swim is a fitting punishment for those who break natural laws." This explanation establishes the sea as a conscious force that judges and punishes. If Imu's name reverses to mean sea, it suggests they might be the personification of this force. They could be Mother Nature herself. They could be the sea given human form. They could be the entity that cursed devil fruits in the first place. The Umibozu connection. From Japanese folklore, the theory gets even more interesting when you look at Japanese folklore. There's a yokai called Umibozu, literally sea monk or sea priest. This creature terrorizes sailors and represents one of Japan's most feared sea spirits. Umibozu appears on calm nights without warning. The sea is peaceful and glass-like. Stars reflect on the water. Then, suddenly, weather conditions deteriorate rapidly. Waves churn, winds howl, and rising from the tumultuous waters appears a massive black figure with gleaming eyes. Descriptions of Umibozu vary, but certain features remain constant. It has inky black skin. Its body is smooth and featureless. It has a bald, rounded head, like a Buddhist monk. It possesses large, round eyes that glow. Its size ranges from slightly larger than a ship to so unimaginably massive that only its face is visible above water. Umibozu emerges to destroy ships and drown crews. Some legends say it demands a barrel from sailors. If they give it a normal barrel, the Umibozu fills it with water and pours it onto the deck repeatedly until the ship sinks. The only way to outsmart it is to give it a bottomless barrel. The Umibozu will keep trying to fill it, giving sailors time to escape. Origins of Umibozu vary by region. The most popular origin story says they're the spirits of drowned priests who were thrown into the sea by angry villagers. These monks transformed into vengeful ghosts because of their horrible deaths. Others say Umibozu are primordial sea monsters living in the deep ocean, potentially ancestors of other aquatic yokai. Now look at Imu. They always appear in silhouette, a massive black form. They have strange, glowing eyes with rings around the pupils. They possess godlike power over the sea and the world. They can transform into a demonic form with bat wings, a devil's tail, and a trident. Their appearance eerily mirrors traditional depictions of Umibozu and devils from folklore. The Umibozu is also called the devil of the sea in some legends. If Imu is based on this yokai, it would explain the sea devil concept that appears throughout One Piece. Legends say devil fruits were enchanted by sea devils. The world government calls their enemies devils the devils of Ohara, the devil clan, D, and so on. What if Imu literally is the sea devil? Imu, as the earth god, from ancient texts. The Harley texts from Elbaf recently revealed information about 4 gods who existed throughout history. These gods match the 4 mentioned in Skypiea: the sun god, rain god, or sea god, earth god, and forest god. The Harley describes 3 worlds that existed across time: the first world, second world void century, and third world, present day. In the first world, the earth god played a major role in destroying civilization. Here's what the Harley says about the first world. Flames engulfed the land, and humans succumbed to their desires, touching the forbidden Sunday. The enslaved prayed, and the sun god appeared. The earth god was enraged, and together with the serpent of infernal flames, shrouded the world in death and darkness. The earth god got angry when the sun god, Nika, arrived to free slaves. The earth god joined forces with the serpent of infernal flames and fought against Nika. This battle destroyed the entire world, killing countless people and shrouding everything in death and darkness. In the second world void century, Humans killed the sun god and became gods themselves. This refers to the 20 kings defeating Joy Boy and declaring themselves celestial dragons. After this, the sea god raged. The sea god's fury followed the sun god's death, suggesting these gods are connected. Fans strongly believe Imu is the earth god. Several pieces of evidence support this. First, Imu was likely one of the original 20 kings who founded the world government 800 years ago. They might be Nerona Imu, who survived all this time through the perennial youth operation from the Op fruit. Second, Imu rules from Meri-Geoise atop the Red Line, literally the highest point on Earth. The Red Line itself might have been created during ancient battles. Imu, sitting above the entire world, symbolizes Earth's dominance. Third, Imu's connection to planets fits perfectly. The 5 elders are all named after planets: Mercury, Venus, Nusuro, Mars, Marcus Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, J. Garcia, Saturn. The ancient weapons are named after gods and planets: Pluton, Poseidon, and Uranus. Luffy represents the sun as the sun god Nika. Earth is the only planet left without representation. And who sits at the center of this planetary system? Imu. In ancient cosmology, all planets revolved around Earth. In One Piece, the 5 elders literally revolve around Imu, serving them. This positioning makes Imu the earth god. Why Mother Nature and the sea are connected? Greek mythology provides another connection. Gaia is the personification of Earth and Mother Nature in Greek myths. She's the primordial goddess who gave birth to all life. In One Piece, Vegapunk said the sea is Mother Nature. But what if the sea and Earth are the same entity, or 2 sides of the same being? The One Piece world is mostly ocean. Water covers almost everything. The few landmasses that exist are islands scattered across vast seas. From this perspective, the sea is the Earth. The planet itself is defined by its oceans. A blue planet, covered mostly by water. If Imu represents Earth, they also represent the sea. Mother Nature controls both land and ocean. Imu, as this primordial force, would naturally hate devil fruits. These fruits break natural laws. They grant unnatural powers born from human desire rather than proper evolution. As Mother Nature, Imu would curse anyone who eats these fruits. This explains why devil fruit users can't swim. It's not a random weakness. It's a deliberate curse, placed by the sea, by Mother Nature, by Imu. The entire devil fruit system might be a punishment or a test created by this godlike being. The Harley texts state that during the Second World, humans slew the sun and became gods. After the 20 kings defeated Joy Boy, they declared themselves gods and ruled from Meri-Geoise. But what if one of them, Imu, actually was a god all along? What if Imu was the earth god who fought against the sun god in the First World, survived into the Second World, and continues ruling in the Third World? Imu's terrifying powers and abilities. Recent chapters revealed some of Imu's incredible abilities. They can possess the bodies of their subordinates. When Holy Knight Gunko started remembering her past, Imu suddenly took complete control of her body from miles away. Gunko's eyes changed to Imu's eyes. Her hair grew longer. Imu spoke through her and used her body to fight. While possessing Gunko, Imu unleashed Supreme King Haki, so powerful, it knocked out multiple giants instantly. Black lightning crackled from this Haki burst. This proves Imu can use Advanced Conqueror's Haki, one of the rarest and most powerful abilities in One Piece. Imu can transform into a demonic form. They grow large, bat-like wings, a pointed devil's tail, and hold a massive trident. The tail can pierce even Logia users it impaled Sabo despite him being made of fire. This demonic appearance resembles common depictions of Satan or devils from folklore. They can summon weapons from thin air using magic circles and a spell book. They created a dagger and giant shotgun instantly. They stabbed Brogy's hand with the dagger, then blew his entire hand off with the shotgun. These weapons come from something called the Abyss, a mysterious power source connected to dark magic. Imu can grant immortality to their subordinates. The five elders all have immortality, regeneration, telepathic communication, and teleportation. These powers likely come from Imu. When Saint Saturn failed his mission, Imu killed him instantly from across the ocean and transferred his powers to a replacement. This proves Imu controls these abilities completely. They can turn people into demons using a technique called Domi Reversi. Imu creates magic circles under their targets and converts them into monstrous, demonic versions of themselves. They did this to Brogi and Dori, the co-captains of the giant warrior pirates. These demons become mindless servants. Most importantly, Imu controls at least one ancient weapon. They used it to completely obliterate the kingdom of Lulusia. A massive beam fired from above, the clouds erased the entire island from existence. Vegapunk speculates this weapon is powered by the Mother Flame. He invented a source of near-infinite energy. Imu possessing an ancient weapon named after a Roman god, likely Uranus, fits the planetary theme perfectly. How devil fruits connect to the sea devil. The concept of a sea devil appears throughout One Piece. Legends say devil fruits were enchanted by sea devils. The fruits grant incredible powers but curse users to be hated by the sea. This curse is so strong that touching seawater drains a devil fruit user's strength completely. If Imu is the sea devil, the personification of Mother Nature and the ocean, they would have the power to create or curse devil fruits. Vegapunk said devil fruits manifest from human desires, but someone or something must transform those desires into physical fruits. What if Imu is that force? The world government renamed many devil fruits to hide their true nature. They changed the Nika fruit to Gomu Gomu no Mi. They branded everything connected to the ancient kingdom as evil. They call themselves gods while calling their enemies devils. But what if they're lying about who the real devil is? The D-Clan is called the natural enemies of the gods. The world government hunts them. Imu personally tears apart wanted posters of people with D in their names. But the Harley texts say, humans slew the sun and became gods. This implies the celestial dragons aren't real gods, they just declared themselves gods after killing the real sun god. If Imu is the earth god divided by sea devil, they might have opposed the sun god from the very beginning. The first world destruction came from earth god and the serpent fighting against sun god Nika. The second world destruction came from the 20 kings, including Imu defeating Joy Boy. The pattern repeats across worlds. The third world, our current time, is heading toward another confrontation between the sun god, Luffy, and the earth god. The Harley texts say, surely, this time, they will meet again. This prophecy suggests the gods will finally reunite, possibly ending the cycle of destruction. Evidence supporting the earth god theory. Multiple pieces of evidence support Imu being the earth god. First, their name reverses to sea in Japanese. This direct linguistic clue connects them to the ocean and Mother Nature. Second, their appearance mirrors the Umibozu yokai, a black silhouette with strange eyes that emerges from calm seas to cause destruction. The Umibozu is called the Sea Devil or Sea Monk in folklore. Third, the planetary system perfectly aligns with Imu as Earth. All the elders, ancient weapons, and major figures represent celestial bodies. Earth is the only planet left, and Imu sits at the center of everything, just as Earth was once thought to be the center of the universe. Fourth, the Harley texts explicitly mention an Earth god who opposed the Sun god. This Earth god caused world destruction alongside the Serpent of Infernal Flames. Imu's actions, erasing entire kingdoms, opposing the D-Clan, controlling ancient weapons, mirror this destructive role. Fifth, Imu's demonic transformation resembles traditional devil imagery. Bat wings, pointed tail, trident, these are classic Satan features. If devil fruits were cursed by sea devils, Imu's demonic form provides visual confirmation of this connection. Sixth, Imu rules from the Red Line, the highest geographical point. This symbolizes Earth's dominance over the seas. They quite literally sit above the entire world, looking down on oceans and islands alike. 7th, Imu's possession abilities and control over subordinates mirror how the sea controls everything within it. The ocean is vast, all-encompassing, and dominant. Imu's powers reflect this totality. 8th, their hatred of the D clan makes sense if they're the Earth god. The Harley texts suggest the D clan, half-moon people, and winged races, full-moon people, dreamed and created devil fruits to fight the Earth god. Imu would naturally see them as eternal enemies. Problems with the theory. Several issues challenge this theory. First, the Harley texts mention both an Earth god and a sea god as separate entities. The sea god raged following the sun god's death. If they're different gods, Imu can't be both. However, this might be a translation or interpretation issue. The sea god could refer to Poseidon, the ancient weapon currently held by Shirahoshi, the mermaid princess, or the sea god and earth god could be the same being viewed from different cultural perspectives. Second, Imu's gender remains unknown. Some fans argue Imu is female, based on circumstantial evidence. The name Mary in Mary Geoz might refer to Imu. Nerona sounds like Nerina, which means sea god in Italian and refers to the sea god Nereus from Greek mythology, a male god. This creates confusion about Imu's identity. Third, if Imu is a primordial god from the first world, how did they survive into the present? Even with the perennial youth operation, that would require someone to perform the surgery on them. Gods shouldn't need devil fruit powers to achieve immortality, unless Imu isn't actually a god but someone who inherited the earth god's power, similar to how Luffy inherited the sun god's power. Fourth, the theory might be overthinking symbolism. Perhaps Umi being Imu reversed is just a cool linguistic trick Oda enjoyed rather than deep lore. Maybe Imu is simply an immortal human who manipulated their way into power rather than an actual deity. Fifth, alternative candidates exist for the Earth God role. Some fans think Blackbeard could be the Earth God because his darkness powers seem to represent Earth divided by gravity. Others suggest the Earth God might be a yet unrevealed character rather than someone we've already met. Why this theory matters for the final saga. If Imu is the Earth God and Sea Devil, it reframes the entire story. One Piece isn't just about pirates versus the world government. It's about an ancient conflict between gods that has repeated across multiple world-ending cycles. The Sun God represents freedom, laughter, and liberation. The Earth God represents control, hierarchy, and natural order. These opposing forces have clashed twice before, destroying the world each time. Now, in the third world, Luffy and Imu are destined to meet again. The prophecy says, this time, they will meet again. Unlike the previous worlds where they would never meet again, the third encounter promises reunion instead of permanent separation. This suggests hope for a different outcome. Maybe Luffy can break the cycle of destruction. Maybe the gods can find peace instead of war. Understanding Imu as Mother Nature also explains their motivation. They're not evil for evil's sake. They're maintaining natural order. Devil fruits break this order by granting unnatural powers. The D-Clan challenges this order by dreaming of freedom and evolution. From Imu's perspective, they're protecting the world from chaos. This makes Imu a tragic antagonist rather than a pure villain. They've watched civilizations rise and fall for thousands of years. They've seen the destruction caused by unchecked human ambition. They genuinely believe their authoritarian control is necessary to prevent another apocalypse. Luffy's challenge isn't just to defeat Imu physically. He needs to prove that freedom doesn't lead to destruction. He needs to show that humanity can evolve naturally through dreams and desires without breaking the world. He needs to demonstrate that the Sun God and Earth God can coexist. The cosmological symbolism reinforces this theme. The ancient belief that Earth was the center of the universe was proven wrong. The sun actually sits at the center of the solar system. In One Piece, This represents shifting from Earth God's dominance to Sun God's era. Luffy must literally dethrone Imu and put the sun, freedom, dreams, and human potential at the center of the world instead. Whether Imu is actually the primordial Earth God, someone who inherited that power, or simply a human villain using godly symbolism, the theory enriches our understanding of One Piece's themes. It connects the series' mythology to real-world folklore, planetary symbolism, and the eternal conflict between freedom and control. And it sets up an epic final battle that transcends simple good versus evil, becoming instead a philosophical confrontation about humanity's right to dream, evolve, and shape their own destiny against the natural order that rejects them. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have the Celestial Dragons, self-proclaimed gods of the world. The Celestial Dragons, self-proclaimed gods of the world. The Celestial Dragons, also called World Nobles, are descendants of 19 families who founded the world government 800 years ago. They consider themselves gods above all law and morality, living in absolute luxury while treating everyone else as worthless trash. Who the Celestial Dragons are and where they came from. 800 years ago, 20 royal families from different kingdoms joined together. They formed an alliance called the Alliance and fought against a common enemy, the Great Kingdom. This war happened during a period known as the Void Century, a 100-year gap in recorded history that the world government deliberately erased from all books. The Alliance won the war. They defeated the Great Kingdom completely. After their victory, these 20 families created the world government to rule the entire world. To symbolize their new position, they left their original kingdoms and moved to the Holy Land, Mary Geois, located at the top of the Red Line, the highest geographical point in the world. The 20 kings created something called the Empty Throne. This throne sits in the center of Mary Geois. Around it, they placed their swords and weapons as symbols. They all made a promise. No single person would sit on that throne. No one would become a dictator. They swore that all 20 families would rule equally, with no king above the others. This promise was a lie. One of the 20 kings, Nerona Imu, secretly sits on the empty throne and rules everything from the shadows. But the other families don't know this. They believe the promise is real. 19 of the 20 families stayed in Mary Geois and became the Celestial Dragons. Only one family refused, the Nefertari family from the kingdom of Alabasta. Queen Nefertari Lili chose to return to her homeland instead of becoming a world noble. Her family continues ruling Alabasta to this day, remaining separate from the corrupt system. The 19 families who stayed abandoned their kingdoms. They left their thrones to subordinate leaders and established themselves as gods who created a new world. They call themselves the Creators. Their descendants became known as World Nobles or Celestial Dragons. These descendants have lived in Mary Geois for 8 centuries, inheriting the status their ancestors earned through conquest. They believe their bloodline makes them superior to everyone else. They genuinely think they are divine beings, actual gods who deserve worship from all lesser humans. Why they call themselves Celestial Dragons. The name Celestial Dragon comes from their Japanese title, Tenri Yubito. This translates literally as Heavenly Dragon Folk. The name carries multiple meanings. Dragons represent power, nobility, and divinity in many cultures. Adding celestial or heavenly elevates them even further. They're not just dragons, they're heavenly dragons. Every single celestial dragon has the title Saint before their name. Saint Rosward, Saint Charlos, Saint Shalaria, Saint Mjosgard. This religious title reinforces their claim to godhood. Saints are holy figures blessed by divine authority. By calling themselves saints, the celestial dragons position themselves as sacred beings worthy of reverence. They genuinely believe they created the world. From their perspective, the world that exists today, the world government system, the international laws, the peace between nations, all came from their ancestors' victory 800 years ago. They see themselves as the children of gods who saved the world from chaos. This belief shapes everything about them. They don't see their privileges as unfair advantages. They see them as natural rights that come with being divine. Just as the sun naturally shines and the ocean naturally flows, celestial dragons naturally deserve absolute power. Questioning this seems as absurd to them as questioning whether fish should swim in water. The bubble helmets that show their arrogance. One of the most recognizable features of celestial dragons is the glass bubble helmets they wear. These aren't protective gear. They're symbols of extreme contempt for everyone else. Celestial dragons wear these bubbles over their heads whenever they leave Meregeois and visit the lower world, their contemptuous term for everywhere else. The bubbles serve one purpose: to prevent them from breathing the same air as common people. They genuinely believe the air breathed by normal humans is too impure for their divine lungs. Commoners are dirty, inferior, and disgusting. Even sharing oxygen with them feels like contamination. The bubbles create a barrier that keeps them separate and pure. This practice shows their complete psychological detachment from humanity. They don't see themselves as part of the human race anymore. 8 centuries of privilege have transformed them into something else in their own minds, a higher species that evolved beyond normal humans. The bubbles also serve as instant visual identification. When someone sees a person wearing a bubble helmet, they immediately know that's a celestial dragon. This causes instant fear and submission. People drop to their knees, they bow their heads, they clear the streets. The bubble announces divine presence and demands worship. Some celestial dragons don't wear the bubbles. The 5 elders never wear them despite being world nobles themselves. A few others have abandoned the practice, but most cling to this symbol because it represents everything they believe about their superiority. Living in Meregeois, at the top of the world, Meregeois sits at the very peak of the Red Line, the massive continent that divides the world's oceans. This location is no accident, it's symbolic. The celestial dragons literally live above everyone else, looking down on the entire world from the highest possible point. Meregeois is unimaginably luxurious. The city contains palaces, gardens, treasure vaults, and slave quarters. Every building gleams with wealth, gold, jewels, rare materials. Nothing is too expensive for the world nobles. They live surrounded by beauty and comfort that most people can't even imagine. The city itself may have been stolen from the Lunarians, a near-extinct race that once lived on the Red Line. The Lunarians had special abilities, including creating fire and surviving in harsh conditions. They were called gods by some. The celestial dragons may have wiped them out to take their homeland. If true, this makes Meregeois literally built on genocide. The Pangaea Castle sits at Meregeois' center. This is where the empty throne resides. The 5 elders conduct government business here. Imu secretly lives here. The castle represents the heart of world power, the place where decisions affecting billions of people get made by a small group of elites. Access to Meregeois is strictly controlled. Giant elevators carry people up the Red Line. Regular citizens almost never visit. Only royalty attending the Reverie, a conference held every 4 years, get to see the Holy Land. Even then, they're carefully monitored and restricted. The contrast between Meregeois and everywhere else is staggering. While celestial dragons feast on delicacies and relax in palaces, people in affiliated kingdoms starve to pay the heavenly tribute tax. While world nobles play with human slaves for entertainment, children in poor countries die from hunger. The gap between their lifestyle and normal life is incomprehensibly vast, the heavenly tribute that crushes nations. Every nation affiliated with the world government must pay a tax called the heavenly tribute. This money goes directly to supporting the celestial dragon's lifestyle. Entire national budgets get drained to satisfy their greed. The tribute amounts are crushing. Many kingdoms are left on the verge of starvation because all their resources go to paying this tax. populations die from hunger just to meet the quotas. Leaders must choose between their people's welfare and maintaining world government protection. If a country cannot pay the tribute, terrible consequences follow. That nation loses its world government ties. It becomes unaffiliated. This means the Marines won't protect them from pirates anymore. The nation becomes vulnerable to attacks from anyone. Pirates can raid freely. Neighboring countries can invade. The kingdom loses all international support. Some nations resort to extreme measures to pay. The Vodka Kingdom pillaged other countries to fill their quotas. They became conquerors and thieves out of desperation to avoid losing world government protection. This creates a vicious cycle where oppression spreads as desperate nations hurt each other. Many kingdoms choose not to join the world government in the first place, specifically because of this tax. They'd rather face pirates independently than become slaves to the tribute system. Others rebel against their own monarchies when the tax becomes unbearable. Civil wars erupt as people refuse to starve for distant nobles they've never seen. The celestial dragons don't care about any of this suffering. They don't even think about where their money comes from. They just expect infinite wealth to flow into their treasuries. They spend astronomical sums on trivial luxuries, rare pets, exotic slaves, elaborate decorations, while the people funding their lifestyle starve. Failure to deliver this money has serious consequences, even beyond losing protection. When Don Quixote do Flamingo took a nation's tribute as hostage, the world government was forced to make him a warlord of the sea. This shows how critical the tribute is to maintaining the celestial dragon's lifestyle. They'll negotiate with criminals rather than lose their money, their absolute legal immunity. Celestial dragons live completely above all laws. They can commit any crime imaginable without punishment. Murder, assault, theft, kidnapping, torture. Nothing they do has legal consequences. The world government protects them, absolutely. If anyone harms a celestial dragon, even accidentally, that person faces immediate death or worse. Simply insulting a world noble leads to 20 years in prison. Looking at them wrong can get you shot. Bumping into one on the street can result in slavery or execution. The Marines enforce this immunity ruthlessly. If a celestial dragon is threatened, they can summon a Marine admiral, one of the 3 most powerful fighters in the entire military, to deal with the offender. An admiral will drop everything and rush to protect any world noble, no matter how minor the threat. This creates an atmosphere of absolute terror wherever celestial dragons go. When they visit an island, everyone must drop to their knees and bow. People clear the streets. Parents hide their children. Nobody dares make eye contact. The slightest mistake could end your life or condemn you to slavery. Saint Charlos demonstrates this immunity perfectly. He walked through Sabaody archipelago, shooting anyone he wanted. When he saw Roronoa Zoro, he tried to kill him for not showing enough respect. Zoro hadn't done anything wrong, he'd simply been in Charlos's path, but the celestial dragon felt entitled to execute him just for existing nearby. Later, Charlos shot Hachan, a fishman friend of the Straw Hats, just because he wanted to. He then tried to buy Cammy, a mermaid, as a slave. When Luffy finally punched Charlos in response to these atrocities, it triggered a massive crisis. An admiral was immediately dispatched to capture Luffy. The entire Straw Hat crew nearly died because Luffy dared strike a world noble. This immunity extends to their property. Celestial dragons can take anything they want from anyone. If they see something they like, they just take it. The owner has no legal recourse. Refusing to surrender your property to a world noble is treated as a crime against the government itself. The horror of celestial dragon slavery. Perhaps the celestial dragon's most evil practice is their enthusiastic participation in slavery. They own thousands of slaves. They buy people at auctions like cattle. They capture random citizens off the street and force them into servitude. The world government not only allows this, but actively supports it. Slaves belonging to celestial dragons get branded with a mark called the hoof of the soaring dragon. This symbol gets burned into their backs with a hot iron. The scar is permanent. According to Boa Hancock, anyone bearing this mark stops being seen as human. They become property items owned by gods. The branding serves multiple purposes. It marks ownership clearly. It humiliates and breaks the slave spirit. It makes escape harder because everyone who sees the mark knows that person is a fugitive slave. The scar becomes a permanent reminder of their status as less than human. Celestial dragons also put explosive collars around their slaves' necks. These collars detonate if the slave tries to escape. The explosion can kill the slave instantly or maim them horribly. This system ensures slaves remain controlled through fear. Even if they could physically run away, the collar prevents them from trying. The treatment slaves endure is horrific. Celestial dragons work them to exhaustion, then punish them for being weak. They torture slaves for entertainment. They kill slaves casually when bored. They pay, and abuse slaves however they want. Slaves have zero rights and zero protections. Young slaves like Koala became so traumatized that she continued acting like a slave even after being freed. She couldn't stop apologizing and smiling desperately. She scrubbed floors compulsively. The psychological damage from celestial dragon slavery runs incredibly deep, often permanently breaking people's minds. Saint Rosward famously collects pirate captain slaves. He specifically hunts powerful pirates to add to his collection as trophies. Jean Bart, a former pirate captain, served as one of his slaves before Trafalgar Law freed him. Rosward treats his slaves as valuable possessions to show off to other world nobles. The three Boa sisters, Hancock, Sandersonia, and Marigold, were captured as children and sold to celestial dragons. They spent years being tortured and abused. The experience scarred them so deeply that they developed intense hatred for all men and hid their slave marks even decades later. Hancock's cold personality and distrust of others stems directly from this trauma. Human auctions operate openly in places like Sabaudi Archipelago. Wealthy people and celestial dragons attend these auctions to bid on slaves. Captured pirates, poor people, and members of rare races get put on display and sold to the highest bidder. The auctioneers describe slaves' attributes like they're selling animals. The crowds cheer and laugh. Prices for slaves vary based on species and skills. Humans have baseline values. Fishmen and mermen cost more because of their strength. Mermaids are extremely expensive because of their beauty and rarity. Giants are valuable for their size. Dwarves are sought after for their speed. The slave trade turns people into commodities with price tags. The few exceptions who found their humanity. Not every single celestial dragon is irredeemably evil, though the good ones are extremely rare. A tiny handful have somehow kept their humanity despite their upbringing. Don Quixote Homing was one such exception. He looked around at the system he was born into and felt disgusted. He believed celestial dragons were humans, not gods. He thought the whole divine right concept was wrong, so he made an unprecedented decision. He voluntarily gave up his world noble status. Homing took his wife and two sons, Doflamingo and Rosinante, and left Mary Giois. He wanted to live as a normal human among common people. He believed this was the right thing to do morally. Unfortunately, his decision had terrible consequences. The family immediately faced extreme poverty. They had no money, no home, no survival skills. Homing's wife got sick and died from an illness that could have been easily treated with their former wealth. Then, angry villagers discovered who they were. These villagers had suffered under celestial dragon rule for generations. They'd lost family members to world noble cruelty, so they took revenge on the only celestial dragons they could reach. The villagers tortured Homing and his sons. They nailed them to walls, they beat them, they starved them. The hatred they felt toward world nobles was so intense that they couldn't see Homing as different from other celestial dragons. His attempt to become human meant nothing to people who'd suffered so much. Doflamingo, the elder son, hated his father for this. He'd enjoyed being a world noble. He loved the power and privilege. Losing that status made him furious. Eventually, Doflamingo murdered his own father and brought his severed head back to Meregeos, hoping to reclaim his position. The other celestial dragons refused, saying, "Once you leave, you can never return." Rocinante, the younger son, followed a different path. He was rescued by Marine Admiral Sengoku and became a Marine himself. He used the alias Corazon and worked as a spy. Eventually, he sacrificed his life to save Trafalgar Law, a child dying from a terminal illness. Rocinante proved that Homing's teachings about compassion and humanity had reached at least one of his sons. Saint Mjosgard is another rare exception. He started out as a typical celestial dragon, arrogant, cruel, obsessed with slaves. When his ship crashed on Fishman Island, he immediately made demands and threatened the locals. The fishmen, who'd suffered under celestial dragon slavery for generations, were about to kill him. Queen Otohime threw herself between them, using her body as a shield. She begged her people not to kill Mjosgard because it would perpetuate the cycle of hatred. She treated his injuries despite his past cruelty. Her kindness shocked Mjosgard so deeply that it changed him completely. He returned to Meregeos, a different person. Years later, at the Reverie, when Saint Charlos tried to enslave Princess Shirahoshi, Mjosgard intervened. He struck Charlos with a weapon and declared that he, Mjosgard, was human, not a god. He became only the second world noble in history to publicly declare his humanity. Shanks is technically a figureland by blood, one of the most powerful celestial dragon families, but he was found as a baby in a treasure chest at God Valley by the Roger Pirates. They raised him as a pirate. He grew up completely outside the world noble system. He's now one of the 4 emperors and has absolutely nothing to do with celestial dragon society, despite his bloodline. These exceptions prove that being born a celestial dragon doesn't automatically make someone evil. Environment and choices matter, but these cases are so rare that they're shocking when they happen. The vast majority of world nobles embrace their privilege completely and never question the system. How they view everyone else as lower life forms. The celestial dragons don't see other people as human. To them, everyone outside Meregeos exists in the lower world, a term dripping with contempt. They view commoners as a completely different species, like comparing humans to insects. This mindset is baked into them from birth. Celestial dragon children grow up in Meregeos, surrounded by slaves and servants. They never interact with normal people as equals. They're taught from infancy that their bloodline makes them superior. Every adult around them reinforces this belief constantly. They learn that causing suffering to commoners isn't wrong, it's natural. Just as humans don't feel guilty for stepping on ants, celestial dragons don't feel guilty for hurting lesser beings. The concept of empathy for non-nobles literally doesn't exist in their worldview. This explains their casual cruelty. Saint Charlos shoots people for fun because to him, they're not really people, they're toys. Breaking a toy isn't murder, it's just losing something you can easily replace. When he shot Hachan, he felt no more guilt than someone popping a bubble. Their language reflects this view. They never use respectful terms for commoners. Everyone is filth, trash, garbage, or that thing. They don't learn commoners' names. Slaves get numbered or called by their species. Individual humans have no more identity to them than individual grains of sand. They're also completely detached from consequences. When celestial dragons destroy someone's life, they forget about it immediately. That person's suffering means nothing. They move on to the next entertainment without ever thinking about the trail of broken lives they leave behind. Some celestial dragons, like certain members of the Goa kingdom's nobility, desperately want to become world nobles themselves, or at least gain their recognition. They idolize the celestial dragons and try to impress them by adopting similar cruel behaviors. This creates layers of wannabe gods who perpetuate the same system. Even Marine Admiral Ryokugyu idolizes the celestial dragons. He genuinely believes they are gods worthy of worship. He sees their divine status as legitimate. This shows how the propaganda spreads. Even some powerful people outside Mary Geoise buy into the lie. Why people hate them more than pirates. In the One Piece world, pirates are typically seen as society's villains. They rob, pillage, and cause chaos. But ironically, common people hate celestial dragons even more than they hate pirates. This reveals something profound about the world nobles' impact. Pirates might raid your village, but celestial dragons systematically oppress entire nations for centuries. Pirates might kill people, but they don't pretend their crimes are legal and righteous. Pirates are honest about being criminals. Celestial dragons commit worse atrocities while claiming moral and legal authority. When a pirate hurts you, at least you can fight back. You can call the Marines for help. Society acknowledges that what happened to you was wrong. But when a celestial dragon destroys your life, you have zero recourse. You can't get justice. You can't even complain without going to prison. The system that's supposed to protect you instead enforces your victimization. This powerlessness breeds intense hatred. People can accept natural disasters or even enemy attacks, but systematic oppression by those claiming to be your benevolent rulers creates a special kind of rage. The celestial dragons represent injustice, institutionalized and protected by law. The Revolutionary Army exists primarily to overthrow the celestial dragons. Monkey D. Dragon leads a global movement dedicated to destroying the world noble system. Countless people join the Revolutionary Army specifically because they or their loved ones suffered under celestial dragon rule. Fisher Tiger, a fishman adventurer, saw slaves being tortured in Mary Geoise. He single-handedly invaded the Holy Land, fought through its defenses, and freed hundreds of slaves. He became a hero to oppressed people worldwide. His action proved that celestial dragons aren't truly untouchable. They're just protected by a system that can be challenged. Rox D. Xebec, a legendary pirate, apparently attacked celestial dragons during an event called the God Valley Incident. He may have killed several world nobles. This incident was so serious that Gull D. Roger and Monkey D. Garp teamed up to stop Rox, despite being enemies. The world government completely erased God Valley from maps afterward. Even some Marines hate the celestial dragons. Vice Admiral Garp refuses promotion to Admiral, specifically because Admirals are direct subordinates of world nobles. He despises them so much he won't take a higher rank if it means serving them directly. Admiral Fujitora also hates them and deliberately defied orders to protect them during the reverie. Their role in the Void Century cover-up. The celestial dragons play a central role in maintaining the biggest cover-up in One Piece history, the erasure of the Void Century. For 800 years, the world government has hidden what really happened during that 100-year period. The poneglyphs are indestructible stones inscribed with the true history. The ancient kingdom created these stones specifically to preserve the truth, but reading poneglyphs is illegal. Anyone who learns to read them gets branded a criminal. The world government destroyed Ohara, an island of scholars, simply because they were researching the Void Century. Why such extreme measures? Because the true history would destroy the celestial dragons' legitimacy. Their entire claim to divine rule rests on the myth that they're heroes who saved the world. But the reality is likely very different. The ancient kingdom probably wasn't evil. The celestial dragons' ancestors likely weren't heroes. The war during the Void Century probably wasn't a righteous crusade. Instead, 20 kingdoms probably united to destroy an advanced civilization that threatened their power. They won through numbers and brutality, not moral superiority. After winning, they rewrote history. They made themselves the good guys. They turned the ancient kingdom into a nameless evil that had to be destroyed. They created the myth of the creators who built a new world from chaos. They've maintained this lie for 8 centuries through propaganda, censorship, and violence. The D clan seems connected to the ancient kingdom somehow. People with D in their names are called the natural enemies of the gods, meaning the celestial dragons. The world government hunts the D clan relentlessly. This persecution suggests the D clan carries the true history's legacy. Queen Nefertari Lili, who refused to become a celestial dragon, had the middle initial D. This revelation shocked the current Alabasta royal family. It suggests Lili knew something about the true history that made her reject world noble status. She might have disagreed with covering up the truth. The celestial dragons benefit most from this historical cover-up. If people knew the real story, revolutions would erupt worldwide. The world government would lose legitimacy instantly. The celestial dragons would be exposed as descendants of conquerors, not divinely appointed rulers. Their whole system would collapse. This is why they react so violently to anyone researching the Void Century. It's not about ancient history being dangerous in itself. It's about protecting the lie that keeps them in power. The truth is their greatest enemy, what they represent in the story's themes. The celestial dragons serve as the ultimate representation of One Piece's themes about freedom, equality, and justice. They're the embodiment of everything the series opposes. One Piece is fundamentally about freedom. Luffy wants to be the freest person in the world. His crew members all seek various forms of freedom from the past, from expectations, from oppression. The celestial dragons represent the opposite, absolute tyranny, where a tiny group owns everyone else. The series explores what happens when power becomes completely unchecked. The celestial dragons have so much power for so long that they've become monsters. They've lost their humanity through infinite privilege. They prove that absolute power corrupts absolutely. They also represent inherited privilege and inequality. The celestial dragons did nothing to earn their status. They were simply born into the right families. Yet this accident of birth grants them everything while others suffer. This critiques systems where social class determines worth rather than individual character or merit. The contrast between Luffy and the celestial dragons is stark. Luffy values his friends above everything. He treats everyone as potential equals. He fights for people's freedom to pursue their dreams. The celestial dragons value only themselves. They treat everyone as property. They crush people's dreams and freedoms to maintain their own comfort. When Luffy punched Saint Charlos at Sabaody Archipelago, it was one of the series' most powerful moments. It wasn't just violence. It was a symbolic rejection of the entire system. Luffy saw injustice and responded with pure, righteous anger. He refused to bow to authority just because that authority claimed divine status. This act cost Luffy dearly. The Straw Hats nearly died. They got separated for 2 years. But Luffy never regretted it. He'd punch Charlos again without hesitation. This willingness to fight impossible odds for others' freedom defines his character. It shows why he's a true threat to the celestial dragons, not because of his strength, but because of his refusal to accept their legitimacy. The Revolutionary Army's existence proves that resistance is possible. Dragon and his forces work globally to overthrow the celestial dragons. They've freed countless slaves. They've toppled corrupt kingdoms. They're building an alternative to world government tyranny. Their struggle shows that the system isn't permanent. It can be changed through determined action. As One Piece approaches its conclusion, the celestial dragons will likely face consequences for centuries of cruelty. The final war will probably determine whether they maintain their tyranny or whether humanity breaks free from their oppression. Given the series' themes, their downfall seems inevitable. The question isn't whether they'll fall, but how much suffering will occur before justice finally comes. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.